I gotta fix that. 1 second. Yeah, I changed camera angle for today, but I forgot to change the resolution on this screen. Is that gonna fix it? Hello? There we go. Oh, I'm huge. Okay, technical difficulties. As could be better. Because I changed the resolution on the other screens, and this one hasn't been changed yet, so. Also got a mic boom stand, so that helps a little bit. Let's see, I gotta take out chat 1 sec. Where pop out? Okay. Yeah, the NJT Pride. A lot of people have asked me where to get. Little fly. A lot of people have asked me where to get that. That is custom made. I made that like during the pandemic. So I made that and the Acela one, the Acela body pillow. Okay, where do I get... I thought I set this up before. Where is window capture? There's chat. Capture method. Oh. OBS, please. There's some extra plugins for OBS I need to get. Let me see, if I size this, does it change? Oh, it does, okay. The wonders of technology. Yeah, it is a little late. I didn't intend to start this late. I intended to start slightly earlier. Are you going to show the TF2 one? I could show some of my unlisted stuff. There's a few unlisted videos that, or actually not a few, there's a lot of unlisted videos because I used to do totally separate stuff before the armchair stuff. So it's, there is a lot of unlisted things. There's a few, so in high school, I made like a bunch of short film stuff that was like mainly goofy. It was mainly comedy stuff. But after that, in like college, I did a lot of drone, RC plane, and just general like DIY stuff. And that's sort of what I did for a really long time until I started the Armchair Urbanist series. And then when I started that, I still did a drone video or two. So, let's see, look at chat. See. Where is the next Philly meetup? I haven't figured that out. I will be doing one though. We will be doing one. Patreon Vault Access. Hey, maybe. Maybe I might post some of the older ones in there. Or I might make like a montage of like older stuff that I've worked on. I'm working on a GCL video, but it's kind of being worked on in the background. The GCL project is very important to me, obviously, because it goes to Glassboro and Pittman. But it's one of those that I kind of want to work on a little bit more than normal. I'm getting a lot of footage of the NIMBYs that are complaining at the meeting, and like I'm getting a few interviews from a few town politicians, stuff like that. It's going to be a lot. That's the GCL video. The two big ones that are coming, it's the Glassboro-Camden line video and the nationalization video. Those will both have a lot of stuff in them that the average video does not have. I mean, even the next video that's going to come out, hopefully this week, probably like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday-ish it's going to come out, is going to be a little bit more intensive than the average video because I put a lot of effort into them. See, this is what I do. I say, oh, this video is going to be so easy. I'm going to roll out a video in 2 weeks. And then like it just balloons and the scope of the video just gets way too much. I do way too much for it. Script writing, video stuff, and so many other things. And it balloons out of control. But it's going to be good. It's going to be good. I'm working with another YouTuber, a smaller one than me, but she's very funny. But you'll see that in the next video. Let me read chat. Hope the project doesn't die. It needs to go to Vineland. Yes. Well, so if I had my way, South Jersey would have a full regional rail system and there would be a tunnel under the Delaware River. But maybe I'll get that done before I die. Let's see what happens. Yeah, hello from the Crescent. I saw Maddox sent that picture a little bit ago. Tiffs are making a two-way stop on a street into a four-way. Ended up getting calling locally. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Saw a comment you made on a car video I was watching and didn't know you were into cars. If you're like me, yeah, I want to do eventually a car guy thing. Car guys actually like good urbanism type video deal. I watch a lot, so that's my secret. I'm actually a really big car guy internally. Like I like the idea of cars are really cool. They're really cool things, mechanically very cool. A lot of cool racing stories with cars. But in practice, cars are shit. So like, I think cars are better in a sense where it's like you can use them for like going to the racetrack or you use them for like going to a meetup and modifying them. They're so cool that way. But they're not like, I mean, commuting daily in a car sucks ass. So like, why would you base life around that? You should have the fun points in life with cars. Like, there's a track in South Jersey I've gone to once in a while called. It's in Vineland. It's in Millville. It's the I'm forgetting the name of it, but it's like something of New Jersey. Very good track. This is a go-kart track there too. Also good. Let me see. Also, it's very good to be New Jersey Motorsports Park. Very good. See, the thing with cars is, let's see, I have to scroll up in the thread to read everyone. Yeah, so like the thing about cars is that like a lot of urbanists will they'll make a video about bashing cars. Like obviously that's what we want. But like the problem is that they don't understand the classifications. That's kind of why like Not Just Bikes video on the trucks was a little bit different, is because like he actually did a little background. Now most people still only know the surface level stuff like the CAF rules or cafe rules, however you say them. That's still just the edge of it, because you still have to know like car models and why certain things work well, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And like, oh my God, the people on Twitter that got mad at the Ford guy driving the Maverick, that's the wrong target. The Maverick is fine. Yeah, the dude was being a dickhead, but like, still, that's the wrong car to get mad at, and I might send the wrong message. The Ford Maverick, small pickup truck. That's a better direction than we were going. But still, Twitter is not the real thing, so whatever. What else? Work in Southampton, New York on an unprotected road, and I felt like I almost died. Yeah, I mean, like, unprotected roads suck. Even like so unprotected roads cannot be too terrible, because like if you have a narrow enough street, or you have a a street where you can go slow enough, then it's not too much of an issue. Uh, like here in Philly, there's some super narrow streets and it kind of forces car drivers to go slower because like they actually have to care about not hitting shit. Uh, let's see. Yeah, haha, you mean X. Duh. Yeah, I'm gonna keep calling it Twitter forever. Cool pride flag, yes. It's representing a transit agency. Maverick's not small. Okay. In today's world, unfortunately, it's small. Yeah, I know the like 80s, 90s, 70s Toyotas, Mazdas, whatever, the small ones, but still, like, um, what do you make of all the recent accidents involving SEPTA? I honestly don't think it's that much of an issue. I think it's just a coincidence that it just happens to be happening now. SEPTA has a decent track record over time. I just think that like it's just a string of events that just happened to like happen recently. Because like yeah, SEPTA drivers and like Northeast drivers in general are going to be slightly more aggressive than your general driver, especially like on the West Coast or something. Well, maybe not LA, but yeah, you're gonna. There's still like they kind of have to be aggressive in Philly and some of the places, but even then, like I think it's just a coincidence that a lot of this is happening now. Um, Let's see. Are you playing transportation games? Yeah, OpenTTD is awesome. I need to play it more on this, but I like modified OpenTTD and I like playing it on a multiplayer server. So I'm going to set that up. A few other Urbanist people want to play a multiplayer server of that, but we have to mod it because normal OpenTTD is it's okay. Let's see. Do you ever rail fan the Northeast Corridor? Yes. Best places to do it are Princeton Junction, Elizabeth, and Secaucus, debatably. New Brunswick's pretty good too because you can. New Brunswick's on the curve over the bridge, and you can walk down and get some food. Other places on the corridor that are decent. If you want to go in Connecticut, there are some places on the beach that are cool. Otherwise, maybe like Maryland and Perryville or something like that. That would be cool. New London Station is extremely goofy and it should be bypassed. That's my opinion. It should still have service in the future, but it should only be local service. The Acela should not be going through New London. Let's see. Let me switch over to browser and we will watch some videos. Let me make sure that it stays on my channel and everything. How do I... Okay, get rid of that. All right. I was on the Northeast Corridor on the Vermonter. Vermonter is cool. I need to take that. I need to go up there. Let's see. Princeton, all the yeah, no, Princeton. There's like a Chinese place. It's like, well, I could show it on a map. Hold on, let me pull up the browser. One sec. As long as I don't dox myself through Google Maps. Let's see. I'm not gonna. Let's see. Where's browser? Oh, that is not what I want to do. Hold on. Let me copy. Let me get rid of that video. Remove. Yes. Paste. There we go. Or no. No, okay. I need to fix all these. These all got fucked up because I changed the resolution of the camera. Yeah, let's put myself in the bottom corner. Window capture. Favorite car channels: RCR, Gears and Gasoline. It's not coming to mind at the moment. Rob, the guy that's doing the four-rotor, the four-rotor RX-7. There's a few others. Trying to think. Um, Cletus McFarlane is okay. Like, I think his stuff is kind of problematic once in a while, but like for the most part, okay. Same with Whistling Diesel. You watch him because it's funny. You don't watch him because it's. I assume his politics are pretty stupid, but yeah, Aging Wheels is great. I'm trying to think who else. There's a bunch of them I watch. Yeah, let me hold on. Where is? We need to bring chat back. Come here, chat. How do I copy? And but no, oh, fuck. I'm so bad at this. Copy. All right, there we go. Back to browser. Paste. All right, I've brought you along with me on this wonderful journey. Oh, Scott Kilmer, he's an older channel, but he's all right. Oh, Donuts good. Yeah, I think Nolan follows me on Twitter. Donuts good. They have their this versus that, and that's a pretty good series. Or no, that's Hoonigan. That's Hoonigan. Excuse me. Hoonigan's pretty decent. I mean, Donut's just funny. I like that Donut's social media is honestly one of the funniest things online. Easily one of the funniest things online. America, no. Let's see. Yeah, Rip Ken. Thoughts on Mustard? Mustard is awesome. Mustard, I think, also follows me too because he's commented on, I think, the TGV video before. So. Alright. I'm gonna make a video that is, I'm gonna make a video that's like a transit vacation video where it's like, if you want to go see the best of the best in the United States, or if you want to go see some cool things in the United States, where do you go? Princeton Junction is one of the best spots to go watch trains in the entire country. You, like, at rush hour, nonstop, there is, you are not waiting any longer than like 5-10 minutes for another train to show up. And they're going to show up at 125 miles an hour or more. Yeah, a lot of parking. They are apparently going to replace some of these parking lots soon with apartment buildings and then parking on the first floor. And then also build a parking garage. Princeton Junction, honestly, though, is one of the least problematic when it comes to this stuff. Because the point of Princeton Junction is that it's not the actual town. The actual town, if you follow past the hell that is Route 1, you get to actual Princeton, which actual Princeton is fucking dope, but they need to build more housing. And then actual Princeton has the Dinky, which is cool, and I did a video about we can watch. Yeah, we can watch. We could start with that, actually. That would work. But Princeton Junction, very cool. You can get some of the best rail fanning stuff. Bad joke. Excuse me, eating because I didn't eat dinner because I'm dumb. But what was it? There's this Asian bistro up here, which is probably a fantastic restaurant. I think I went to there a long time ago. Someone needs to buy that and convert it into a bar. And they need to, there's already a porch on the back of this. Yeah, there's like a little porch right there. They need to make this a bar, put some seats out there, and you just need to be able to drink and watch the trains go by. That's all I want. Someone needs to do it. That's why I said, if I retire and I have enough money, I'm going to open a bar, and it's going to be called the Foamery, and it's going to be like this. It's going to be on a main line somewhere. Yeah, the Farmer Lounge essentially. Then you just fill it with a bunch of train shit, of course. Put a model train, have the drinks delivered with a model train or something. I don't know. Just pay the workers decently so you don't have to tip the train. Oh yeah, the Google Maps 3D imagery fucks up the gantries. It doesn't know what to do with them because they're really tall and they have a lot of wires. Let's see. I think you said you made you're going to make a video about crime. Yeah, if I make that video, I'm going to work with some other people because it's a little bit beyond me. A cis white dude talking directly about crime when crime is a lot of multifaceted problems that affects a lot of people. So it's a bit this little fly kind of flying around. It's a bit disingenuous if I talk about that alone. So if I do that video, I will have some other people involved with it, especially some people that are more in social circles that talk and discuss a lot of how to fix this stuff. Yeah, drunk railfanning is the best, of course. Just don't stray on the tracks. All right. Yeah, before I start the Princeton or the Dinky video, I have to show like, so those of you not from New Jersey or not from the East Coast, you need to understand that like East Coast Ivy League schools, even though I don't like Ivy League schools because the people that they generate, or a lot of the people that they generate, are extremely annoying, they are very cool. And I understand why people want to go to them because the architecture at these places is fucking awesome. Like, totally understandable why you'd want to go to one of these places. I mean, like, your campus is a fucking castle. Like, all of the buildings look like this. And, like, Princeton's awesome. Princeton's probably one of the lesser toxic places to go when it comes to Ivy Leagues. But like, yeah, of course, it's a college campus, place Europe, very walkable. But yeah, I mean, like most of Princeton looks like this, where all the buildings are very cool. There's a term for it. I think it's like it's called academic Gothic. I think is the architecture. But like majority of Princeton's campus looks like this whole section over here is getting redone. But like even the dorms are awesome. Let me see. Is this a yeah, is a photosphere. Yeah, even the dorms are just fantastic. Like these are dorms. These are where you stay. This is yeah, like I don't know how good the AC and stuff. I don't know if they have AC, but like they're definitely cool. If it wasn't yeah. I mean, well, if you get the option to go to these places, don't like not take it because like you don't like the Ivy League stigma. Like, no, totally take it because these places are very cool. If you can afford it, that's the American thing about it, obviously. But yeah, I mean, downtown Princeton, very cool. I think, excuse me, downtown Princeton is very like typical New Jersey downtown. But the problem with it is that this street is too wide. It shouldn't be 3 lanes. It should be 2. I guess is it 4 technically? It's either 3 or 4, but it should only be 2. They can't afford their like ever. Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, it is a little bit expensive to go there. But I mean, Princeton's very cute. They have this fake two-door. I forget how to say that. But I mean, yeah, it's a super cute downtown. Like it's one of the better examples of American urbanism. Why can I click the button? That's annoying. Yeah, and these side streets, same thing. Side streets, very cute. Very American American Town side street. To Dur. Okay. Yeah, I mean, like New Jersey gets shit on, but like a good percentage of New Jersey towns look like this. Like they're not bad. People just shit on New Jersey because they fly into Newark and then they drive or take the train to New York City, and like, yeah, of course that section's gonna suck. But yeah, Princeton, very good. Yeah, let's go to the videos. Let's see. Yeah, I guess we'll start with the Dinky video. Where is that? There it is. Let's see. Desktop audio. Let me... where are the filters? There's the gain. All right, I'm just going to make sure that... I don't want to blow out my own ears. Want to go upstairs? Yeah, let's do 4. Yeah, Jeremy. So, where is it? Yeah, this is the first video where Jeremy appears in one of my videos. Where is he? There he is. Yeah, this is the first video where Jeremy appears in one of my videos. Me and Jeremy have a funny story about how we met, because we were talking on Discord and Twitter for a bit before I actually met him in person. And he was going to Rutgers, I was an upperclassman, and yeah, you guys were looking for arrows. We were, let me see, where is it? I just need to check the stream. Oh, stream doing well, that's good. So him and I were, we went to Rutgers, New Brunswick, and we talked for a while. He was a mod on my Discord for a while, even before we met. And then it snowed really, really hard in like January of 2021. I think it was, or it was either January or February. There was a huge snowstorm, and like 2-3 feet of snow came down. And I was like to Jeremy, I was like, hey, you're not doing anything tonight, right? And he was like, no. And so it's like, okay, I'll meet up with you later, because like we can just walk around during the snowstorm because nothing else is happening. Of course, me and my one of my housemates got very drunk. Well, not very, but like decently drunk. And the cops aren't going to be out during a snowstorm, so you can just walk around with a beer out in New Brunswick, and no one gives a shit. So we're just, me and our housemate are walking through the snowstorm, all bundled up just with beers. And I tell Jeremy, I'm like, yeah, we're walking around on the Rutgers Mall in College Ave. We'll meet you out there. And Jeremy's like, oh, I didn't realize you were that close. So me and my roommate or housemate have to wait like 10 or so minutes. So we find a bench covered with snow. Just kind of compact all the snow to make a bench again, and then put the beers in the snow. And then Jeremy's like, oh, I'm coming down, be right there. He was in one of the dorms. And he comes down and just sees my roommate and I just sitting there with beers in the snow. And I was like, hello, what's up? So Jeremy got to meet me when I was drunk in a snowstorm, and there was like 2 feet of snow on the ground. All right, let's watch the video. not 1312. Yes.
Oh, I've seen this on the Mars and Essex before.
Yes, that's amazing.
They rotate them like in and out of the Dinky.
Oh, no, come on. Of course, we got the 1312 arrow. Very good number. But yeah, Jeremy, of course, just starts spouting off arrow facts. This is, what was this? This is March 23rd, 2021. So this is only like a month and a half after like I met Jeremy in person for the first time. Anyway, he goes on about it for a bit.
In and out of the Dinky.
Let's see.
What makes me a good
Branch line?
If I were a bad
Branch line?
I wouldn't be sitting here discussing it with you now, would I?
So some Alan lore. In like 2015, 2016, I guess slightly out of 2014, I played TF2 a lot. And I played it enough to be in the pro leagues for a bit. Not the super pro leagues, but like the lower end of the pro leagues. I played like UGC stuff, and I played open for a bit, helping one team. I wasn't there all the time, but I played way too much of that game. So that's why if you ever see TF2 stuff interspersed through this, that's why, or that's because there's a TF2 poster up here. Can't see it. Well, what did I mean? 6v6, of course, obviously. I did play Highlander before that. Highlander's goofy. Highlander's very goofy. But I main Soldier and Demo Man. Played Medic also when needed, but yeah. Anyway, continue the video. Today, we're talking about the Princeton Dinky, the small branch line that runs from Princeton Junction to Princeton. Out of the swamps of central New Jersey on the Northeast Corridor, a tiny branch line emerges, and it runs to one of the wealthiest towns in the state. This is the 2.7-mile track that is the shortest and highest frequency branch in the United States. There are not many other branch lines to pick from in the US, but we'll get to that later. The Princeton Dinky gets its name from the fact that it's usually a 1 or 2 car train, and that the line is very short. Its other nickname is the PJ and B, or Princeton Junction and back. The Dinky runs back and forth every 30 minutes, lining up approximately with the schedule of the Northeast Corridor trains that also stop at Princeton Junction. The Dinky provides... What am I eating? I'm supporting the Pennsylvania economy. Hers, of course. But also, yeah, this is Princeton Junction. Princeton Junction fucks. I could show you some railfan stuff in a bit. But, yeah, Princeton Junction is awesome. It's just one of those places you kind of have to go there to see for yourself. Lining up approximately with the schedule of the Northeast Corridor trains that also stop at Princeton Junction. The Dinky provides the fastest link between downtown Princeton and Princeton Junction. It takes roughly 4 to 5 minutes to go. Best hers flavor. Probably sour cream and onion. I don't usually like sour cream and onion, but the hers version, very good. Go from one station to the other, which is twice as fast as driving, and that's driving without any traffic. For most of the Dinky's life, it served as a branch line under the Pennsylvania Railroad, and it even had a third station just before the halfway point called Penn's Neck Station. Eventually, the Dinky was operated by Penn Central briefly, before being taken over by... No, the first video I had this in was the electrification video, which we can watch in, but this I need to bring back. I just haven't talked much about anything that's required this meme to come back in videos. In 1984, NJ Transit assumed operations and has been operating it ever since. In recent years, the station in Princeton was relocated 300 feet from the old Dinky terminal to the new one constructed by NJ Transit. This new terminal features a green roof and a Wawa built into it. Also, this Wawa is probably the only modernist Wawa in existence, so that's kind of cool. Apparently this, where was it? Apparently, this Wawa was going very popular on TikTok recently. People were like freaking out over the fact that it's a modernist Wawa. Um, Wawa's cool because they have a lot of flagship stores that happen to have like really cool architecture. Like there's one here in Philadelphia that's it's like neoclassical Art Deco. It's over by Independence Hall. It's very cool. And a Wawa built into it. Also, this Wawa is probably the only modernist Wawa in existence, so that's kind of cool. Some other cool notable things about the Dinky is that it uses Aero 3 electric multiple unit trains. These trains have been running since the early 70s, and you can tell. There's no other train in existence that makes me feel like I'm riding in a wood-paneled basement from a suburban home. But it gets the job done, and they're always surprisingly clean. The Dinky is also cool because even though the line is super short, it still achieves a speed of 60 miles an hour for a good portion of its run. And lastly, the Dinky runs over another great piece of New Jersey history, the Delaware and Raritan Canal. Oh, that's a video I could bring back up also. I'll bring it up. Well, I could bring it up, but the Delaware and Raritan Canal is a funny one because I did a video on that. It was one of the first, I think it's the 5th or 6th video I ever did in the series. But that video sat at like 9,000 views for a really long time, and then all of a sudden it shot up to like 110,000 views. And I looked at the demographics, and all the demographics were like 65 plus people were watching this video. So it was only like retirees were watching the canal video, which doesn't surprise me, honestly. You can even see that the bridge over the canal used to be a swing bridge to allow tall boats to get past through the canal. If you'd like to hear more about the DNR Canal, I have another video of it here. Okay, so now we have to talk about why this is such a transportation oddity in the United States. And we have to ask, where did all the branch lines go? Or alternatively ask, how did I get here? I forgot I put that in. Well, before we talk about that, let's talk about why branch lines are so important. Branch lines are usually classified as small branches off of a trunk line, also known as a main line. So the Princeton Dinky is a branch line off of the Northeast Corridor trunk line. These branches usually connect small... This video predates two things. It predates when before I had this microphone, because this is a good microphone, and it also predates before I learned how to sort of talk better. Because the thing that a lot of people don't teach you is that if you want to do YouTube or you want to do like any online something, you unfortunately have to exaggerate things and be very confident with how you speak. That makes it more, you just come off better online. Because, I mean, I try to be as accurate as I can with what I make. And I try to not fuck anything up. Excuse me. Because railfans and foamers are fucking insane, and if you screw up the tiniest detail, you'll get called out. Someone will call you out. Or otherwise, you'll just be known as like, I don't know, what's a channel that kind of is like mid? Like It's History, I guess. They're like he just does Wikipedia reads. He makes okay videos, but it's very like Wikipedia read channel. Like a lot of the infographic channels you see. They're just like, they don't deep dive into the subjects, and that's kind of what frustrates a lot of people, is that like, yeah, they make decent content, but the content itself is not that good comparatively to what you could be watching. I mean, they probably rake in some fucking cash, though. They put out a lot of videos. I mean, the same with the other infographic channels. They make mid-ass videos, but like, they rake in that fucking cash. A talking tutorial, I mean, the thing is that, like, honestly, the best way to learn how you want to speak is, unfortunately, you got to copy other people, and you also just got to do public speaking. Because honestly, that's one of the biggest things, is doing public speaking. The other is just like find some channel or some radio person or something, and just kind of copy like how they do sort of pronunciation and articulation of how they fucking word. What's the word? How they kind of put energy into different words. Kind of, oh my God, what's the fucking word? Not exaggerate, but like, yeah, anyway, one of my favorite channels, and I've said this as a car channel, is that regular car reviews, especially his older videos, he exaggerates a lot with the voice. And that's like the whole point. It's like doing a radio voice or doing something like, honestly, watch like old WWE shit. Like when they do the interviews or when they do like the, so they used to do like monologues before they wrestled, and the monologues are fucking great. Like Cream of the Crop, like the Randy Savage bit, amazing. Like half the people like always shit on WWE because they're like, it's fake. Yeah, we know it's fake. That's the whole point. But it's like it's like dudes on steroids sitcom. That's why we like it. Like it's supposed to be insane. Anyway, you gotta learn to do the voice of some sort, to exaggerate things. Like you need to just learn how to do that. And especially to make the points on certain things. It's just one way to do it. And this is not just dudes. This is also, there's plenty of women that have fantastic voices that know how to articulate certain words correctly to get the point across on things. A monotone you can get, it's fine, but like, ooh, it's going to be tough. Monotone is tough. And like when I was like in high school, I was told that I was more monotone. And honestly, that went to my fucking soul, because I was like, I got to change this, obviously. Emphasis. Yeah. Put emphasis on words. That's what I was looking for. Thank you. Or stream on Twitch, learn how to talk. Nobody will help you talk to an audience. Yeah, that helps too. I had a radio show on campus to teach me. Yes, they're all very good. I really need to voice train, I guess. Well, I mean, if I have trans people in the audience, they know that training your voice is definitely something that a lot of people work on. Small towns with the main line. It's hard. It's not easy. Anyway, back to the video, because we were watching a fucking video. Using a normal commuter train. But the difference being that the train usually terminates where it connects with the main line. You don't always have to follow this rule. Oh, the Wendover voice? Actually, I don't know how to. No, he's not that much a nerd. But he has like a weird way of like spacing, timing of just the cadence that he has is just, don't like it. I don't like his I don't like him for many reasons, but he does pretty decent videos. But most of the time, this is the case. Nowadays, there are only 3 to 4 surviving branch lines, depending on how you classify them, in the United States. The following are the Dinky, obviously, the Gladstone branch, which is another NJ Transit branch. Wait, what did I say? Obviously. Obviously, sigh. Gladstone branch, which is another NJ Transit branch line that's off of the Morrison-Essex main line. The new Canaan line, which is a Metro North line that connects with the Northeast Corridor. And lastly, the Waterbury line, which is also a Metro North line that interfaces with the Northeast Corridor. Well, as you could probably guess, the US lost a ton of railroad lines in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Alright, a few people are asking. So, like, jet lag is fine. I think it's entertaining. Most of Wendover stuff is fine. But you have to acknowledge that most of his stuff is not written by him. Most of the half as interesting stuff and a decent majority of his own channel stuff is written by staff now. He just does the voiceovers. I don't like him because he remains like frustratingly neutral on political topics. And by neutral, that means status quo, which fucking sucks ass. Yeah, like his writing team, props to his writing team. They seem great. But like he himself is who I have problems with because he stays like frustratingly neutral on shit. When if he just takes a side on something, he could be infinitely better. Like he did a video that was copying my like not copying, but taking inspiration from my why class ones are shit or whatever, that video. He did his own version of that. It's obviously neoliberal editing style, but like the but at the end of the video, he leads up to where I was going, which is you can slam dunk the nationalization idea in there. But of course, he just leaves it out because that would mean taking a side or taking some political stance beyond the status quo or beyond. And I know this because how much am I giving away here? Some people have told me that are part of the Slack, Nebula Slack, that he purposely left that out. He purposely left that out because he said it's not politically feasible, or it's not reasonably feasible in the political atmosphere currently that he didn't believe that he should mention it. So, yeah, Anyway, I don't like him because of that. I have slight suspicions before that video, but after that whole event incident, I was like, nah, I don't like that. That's purposely omitting something that would help you. You live in the US. The least you could do is just mention ideas that might help the fucking country you live in. But who am I to say? I don't have a big channel like he does. So I just think it's cowardly.
70s.
Anyway,
in
back to the
these
video.
perished many branch lines. Most branch lines are incredibly important to an efficient railroad. They might not be the big moneymakers, ad-worthy, or people movers, but they collectively make the ridership on the main line stronger. This has a great effect to decrease car traffic.
Probably thought it would cost money. Or cost him money. Maybe. But like the main thing is that like that's at the end of the video. So it wouldn't really cost him money because like if it's at the end of the video, someone that's watching the video to that point, he's already going to get the money from anyway, or the watch time from anyway. So like mentioning that doesn't mean your video performs worse. It just means that, oh no, you might have people in the comments mad at you. Oh no. Like, oh, it's the fucking internet. Like, yeah, of fucking course it's going to happen. Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, yeah, I mean, the real life lore, like, there's a whole subsection of those channels that's just, I call them infographic channels. They're just mid. Like, they're okay. Like, I deal with them because a lot of their audience kind of spills over into mine. Unfortunately, if I check, I mean, not unfortunately, but like, just what people happen to watch is like a lot of the infographic stuff. Because if I check my audience and I check what else they're watching, it's most likely those videos will spill over. That's just what people come from. I mean, I watch some of his stuff too. I saw the highway one I'm going to watch, which I think is about like I-70 or something like that. Which is probably going to be like, wow, look at this cool ass highway that we built through Colorado. Look at the bridges, and it's incredibly stupid. Should have spent it on rail. Colorado should look like Switzerland with its rail system, but instead you got dumbass highways and people that form a conga line going to a ski resort. But let's see. Actually, yeah, we could go back to one of the other videos. Oh, my fucking boy, Chuck Walsh. That man has been advocating for that thing for, oh my God, like 40 years now? My fucking hats off to him. Awesome dude. Let's see. Yes, but no mention of rail. Yeah, see, that's my problem. Because I'm sure he mentioned like, wow, this highway costs a shit ton of money. And then like Colorado barely spends anything on rail. Like, that's my problem. That's my problem. It's the status quo. It's like you mention this expensive ass highway and then you don't mention any other transportation alternatives. So it's frustrating. Recent video you dislike. I don't really dislike anything hard, but like I can criticize things about it. Yeah, no, Chuck Walsh is awesome. Once the Andover section happens actually, let's fucking watch that video. Where is that? Yeah, let's watch this shit. Starting off with cool ass me flying a drone. Today on the Armchair Urbanist, we explore an abandoned railroad viaduct. Yeah, so this bridge here, this is the Paulinskill Viaduct over the Paulinskill Creek. It's the second biggest viaduct on the Erie-Lackawanna's main line, and it's the second viaduct that's part of the New Jersey section of the Cut-off. Anyway, cool bridge, and there's a bunch of graffiti on it that's all very neat. There's a lot of Foamer graffiti. There's like an NJ Transit, Erie-Lackawanna. It's like a Conrail one. Bunch of cool ones. I think there's even an Amtrak one now. Yeah, let's continue watching the video. Actually, I'm gonna grab a drink, so this will continue playing. Be right back in like 10 seconds.
In this episode of the Armchair Urbanist, we're going to talk about what makes good high-speed rail. Well, when most people think about fast things, say cars, airplanes, or even trains, they usually think about the vehicle that is being used. For cars and airplanes, this is mainly correct. Trains, on the other hand, are a little different. Most normal passenger trains can actually be pretty fast with just some minor adjustments. A P-42, for example, Amtrak's most used locomotive, can hit a top speed of 110 miles an hour, and it does this in a few places on their system. Rewind the clock a little bit and we remember Amtrak's AEM-7s. These bricks could hit a top speed of 125 miles an hour, and they regularly hit that speed on the Northeast Corridor.
Do you ever find yourself going to libraries, museums, or archival centers? Yes, of course. Luckily, here in Philadelphia, there's some pretty good ones. There's a library not too far from me that I go to sometimes. It's definitely worth going in person to stuff. Let's see what you guys are posting. We can't meet the quotas of California's new emission standards. Such technology doesn't exist. Also, Milwaukee, PRR, NYC, and New Haven. Yeah, that's again, there's so many topics I need to cover, and there's a lot of freight rail stuff that I need to cover, and it's frustrating because I wish I could make videos faster. My script writing is very slow, and that's what I rely on, but I do need to make a video about that. Thinking about starting my own channel on the Long Island Urbanism that will touch on Robert Moses and the LIRR and the suburban hellscape of Long Island. Good idea. I mean, if you can make it work. The problem with a lot of urban planning stuff and a lot of railroad stuff is that, like, you have to make the average person interested in this. And that's difficult because, remember, this is train shit. We like train shit. The average person doesn't care, or they don't think about it. So the hardest part about making these types of videos is you have to make those people care. That's hard. Let's see. Would you ever hire a team assistant to make these very? Yes. I will actually talk about that a bit later because I have a few ideas of what I want to do in the future. Some big, cool ideas. No, I don't like AI to leverage for script writing. AI doesn't work for my type of videos. As you know, a lot of what I talk about is very specific. when it comes to very specific stuff like, say, trains or urbanism, or say some extremely nuanced railroad stuff that no one talks about, AI doesn't work well, because all the AI does is it pulls from like big articles that are really popular and stuff. And if you have no reference or data reference for this stuff, then like the AI is useless. Because like, if you have no reference for this stuff, it's not going to spit out stuff for you. Like if I ask it about like, hey, what was the Erie Lackawanna ever, like if I did let's say I did a video on talking about the main line of the Erie Lackawanna between Scranton and Buffalo and what the improvements they wanted to do over it for a decent amount of time. The AI will not spit out any reasonable information for you, because a lot of that information is in very niche places that it's never going to have a data set for. So yeah. But anyway, let's get back to the video.
Corridor. My point is that when it comes to high-speed rail, it's all about the infrastructure. The rails, the overhead wires are important, but they're honestly the easy part to build. The hardest part about building high-speed rail is having a smooth, level, and straight path with gentle curves. You can see this in modern construction like the California High-Speed Rail Project. Here's a clip from my friend John's channel, The Forefoot. Go check out his channel if you haven't. Here you can see the gentle curves and grade separations being made for the California route. It's pretty impressive, actually. Link for his channel should be in the top right in that icon button thing. The basic ideas for high-speed rail infrastructure have been around for over 100 years. Flat, straight, and smooth trackbed construction. This can be found ever since trains started going faster than about 60 miles an hour. One of the best examples of how to construct high-speed rail properly is actually over 100 years old and now abandoned. It's the Lackawanna Cut-off. So what you're looking at here is the Paul and Skill Viaduct. I recorded this.
I missed the Forefoot. I know he's got stuff going on, just not sure what. He is actually an engineer on the Northeast Corridor now. I don't know how much I can say more than that, but that's what he's been up to. Yeah, so I might be able to coax him out to do a video once in a while, but yeah, he's been busy here in the Northeast. What is the best transit project that was canceled? Other than the Roosevelt Boulevard subway? Probably Baltimore's original metro system, or the planned metro system they were going to have. If you ever look up a map of that, my God, it was going to be good. Baltimore is an interesting city to talk about, and it's a very depressing topic to talk about, honestly. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to talk about, and some are more substantially relevant to some people than others, because obviously people live in places where they know more about it. Like obviously the one that I would be I'm a bit depressed about is the fact that Patco never had its other branch lines that it was going to build to Glassboro, to Morristown, Mount Holly, Burlington. If they built that out, oh my God, that would have been amazing. But we'll see. Maybe eventually. Anyway, back to the video. Anyway, so yeah.
This episode in the winter when all the leaves on the trees are gone so that you could see this massive bridge better. Not the prettiest time of the year, but it gets the job done. So welcome to a great piece of the Lackawanna Cut-off. Now there are two types of people in the world. There are people that don't really know much about the history and the infrastructure of the Lackawanna Cut-off. And then there is Chuck Walsh.
Hi, I'm Chuck Walsh, president of
the fucking GOAT,
North Jersey Rail Commuter Association, and a member of several different advocacy groups in New Jersey.
Chuck has a fantastic channel where he discusses the future of the cutoff and all of its history.
Go sub to him. He will talk 30 minutes about the most specific thing. Awesome though. Awesome dude. Deserves way more recognition than he's getting. I want the project to be finished just so Chuck can be happy. I want this man to ride that train with that glass of wine all the way to Scranton. And I want that fucking train to be named after him or some shit like that.
history. He has been talking and advocating for the Lackawanna Cut-off since the 80s, so if there's anyone to go to for information on this topic, he's your guy. So let's start with, why was the cutoff built in the first place? Well, the Lackawanna's main goal was to get people from New York City to Buffalo as fast as possible. Unfortunately, the Lackawanna had some failed merges with the Central Railroad of New Jersey, and that caused a few problems.
And now the Lackawanna is stuck with this line that is really not useful to them. I mean, it's useful in the sense that they use it, but it's not optimal by any means, because it's a circuitous route that has been created because they end up running, it's a long story, but they buy a different rail line called in Morris and Essex, and now have basically a much longer route than they really want.
This old road cut speeds down to 40 miles an hour through its tight corners, and it was basically a detour in the wrong direction. It was obvious that a replacement for the line was needed to cut time and to save the amount of locomotives that was needed for the route.
They wanted to replace.
Okay, so kind of funny story about interviewing Chuck here. I had, I shared, before I got my current cameras, because I have my current camera that is pretty cool, Fujifilm. Spent way too much fucking money on this, but it's great. It's a lot of fun. Before I had this camera, I had a Nikon D3400 that I shared with my mom. And my mom never used the camera. She used it like once in a while, would take pictures of like wildlife and stuff. But I would use it for videos when she wasn't using it. And what was it? When I shot this originally, I left the I left the Nikon in manual focus, and I went to film Chuck here, and it accidentally focused on slightly behind him. So there are some shots, half of the shots that I got with him in them were accidentally slightly blurry, and I was like, fuck, I can't reshoot this. So, yeah, so you'll see up to like halfway through this video, all the shots with Chuck in him, he's slightly blurry in like the view here, but
it's the old road with a new road, and the new road was the cutoff.
So planning began on one of the largest mega projects of the early 1900s. The route chosen for the cutoff was to be as straight and as level as possible, allowing for as high as speeds as possible. Back then, speed on the cutoff was mainly limited by how fast steam locomotives could operate reliably, somewhere between 80 to 100 miles an hour.
Well, construction officially began on August 1st, 1908, but it's built in 7 different sections which more or less start construction simultaneously. So by late August, September, the whole 28.5 miles is under construction.
The cutoff included some of the largest structures ever seen.
Chuck reminds me of the old dudes that have been trying to get the Roosevelt Boulevard since the 60s. Yes. I feel really bad. And I also understand why a lot of them are not positive about transit. If you grew up in the period between the 1970s and like 2000, because like I would say like during and after the Bush administration, things really started to get better. The Bush administration made it harder, but I think like once the Bush administration was ending and then Obama came in, things started to get better for transit. I think in the 90s, depending on where you were, things were also getting better. But if you grew up in the era between like even the 1950s, 60s, into the 70s and 80s, like things just got worse every fucking year. Like, you think it's bad now? Imagine seeing services being ripped from you year after year, like things actively getting worse year after year. That is so demoralizing. Like, there are so many of these boomers that have, and even older people, and kind of Gen X, that have fought for a lot of this stuff forever. And, excuse me. And it's just so like I understand their pain, because so much of their life has gone by where they've seen things actively get ripped away from themselves, cities actively get worse, and all you could do is just try to advocate for better stuff. Right now, we're in probably the best situation we've ever been in a long time. Amtrak has gotten some like 40 billion dollars that they have to allocate to new lines, build new infrastructure and stuff like that. Cities are actively trying to get better. People are moving back to cities. Like, things are trending in the right direction. That's why I keep saying to people, stop dooming about this shit. It's getting better. Things are going in the right direction. And despite what other people say, North America is not doomed. So like, people like Chuck, I have so much fucking respect for, because he's been there since shit has been like actively getting worse, and he stuck through it. He's advocated through that shit and didn't give up. Still going. And like I said, when that new NJT service goes to Andover or the Amtrak service goes to Scranton, I hope Chuck is on that fucking train, and I hope that he is pampered to shit, because it's the people like him that fought through the shitty days and eras of this that like should get treated well, because it's one thing to realize the things that are wrong and pack up and move, and it's another thing to stick around and advocate for this stuff forever. Yeah, it sucks, but there's a difference. IDK, red states are so hard to deal with. Of course, I will never... Yeah, but even in red states, the cities are getting better. Yeah, some of the deep south places are tough. But, I mean, like, Utah is a red state. Texas is a red state. They're having transit actively built. I think the South Carolinas are a red state. They're getting stuff built. And even Florida, with their shitty politics, they're still getting stuff built. They're still expanding transit. Like, it's getting better. Even in some of the worst places. So, yeah, St. Louis also. Yeah, I think it's a generational thing. I think, like, once you get the way, because there's a good portion of the millennials and Gen Z that just don't drive, because they see the option of like owning a car is expensive, and Uber and like rideshare stuff is like actually kind of useful, because if you don't drive or need to drive all the time, it's like, well, I can just use Uber once in a while instead of actually owning a car. And then once you kind of get in that lifestyle, you realize, well, why do I even need to why is everything car based in the first place? And then your mind gets thinking. And that's why I think a lot of people nowadays are kind of like falling into this, even if like they're not an urbanist type. They're kind of questioning like, why is this stuff the way it is? So yeah, Republicans are trying to cut Amtrak's funding. That's not going to happen. If there's one reason to re-elect Biden, it's because that will not happen. All right, let's continue with based goat man Chuck.
On a railroad. For example, the Pollenskill Viaduct was the tallest set concrete structure at the time of its construction. But even that wasn't close.
What pride flag is that? That is New Jersey Transit colors.
To being the
It looks like the Bi flag, though.
Largest piece of infrastructure on the cutoff.
Technically, the biggest structure is the Peak West Fill, which is a 3-mile-long fill between Andover and Greene Township in Sussex County.
The Prequest Fill is so large you can easily spot it from space. Nowadays, with it being overgrown with trees, most people would easily think that it's just a large, long natural hill or ridgeline. But at the time, this is one of the biggest pieces of railroad infrastructure ever built. All in the name of speed.
Now, in terms of speed, there are no official records, but there's... I've had communications with folks who were on in the locomotive of trains back in the late 40s, early 50s, where they reportedly pinned the speedometer, the 100-mile-an-hour speedometer. So going westbound on the cutoff. So
look at that motherfucker go.
We have reason to believe
Seeing
that
steam engines
trains
that
were
speed?
able to do 100 miles plus per hour on the cutoff. The speed limit varied. The official speed limit varied. It was 80 for much of its time, 70, 80, 75. It varied, but trains could actually, in certain places, go actually a lot faster.
And all of this speed was down to what makes good high-speed rail today: gentle curves with flat and level track.
See, again, this is a video from before I started putting a little bit more effort into the voice acting itself, because I would emphasize that, like, speed and power. Not exactly like that, but you kind of have to joke about it. Why do the messages retract? Is that YouTube doing that? Because I have it set in like super strict. What was it? 1,000-page documents, Richmond to Raleigh, various other VA service improvements over. It's interesting. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the Virginian improvement stuff. It should be good. Cleveland has the weirdest subway in the Americas, and technically it's going to become light rail soon. Technically. Where do I get the NJT flag? I actually made this myself. So I'm actually, I enjoy Teespring a lot. The merchandise stuff that I work with, like that's down in the doobly-doo. This is a Conrail shirt, but my nationalized shirt is good, and it's made by them. I'm eventually going to switch, I think, to a local one here in Philly for multiple reasons, but also one of the reasons is that, like, I want to do more specific, like, custom stuff like this, and I like Teespring. They're very easy to get designs on and get stuff working, but I can't do really super custom stuff like this. I want to work with a group here in Philly that will be able to do more custom stuff like this, and the Acela body pillow and other stuff. Because I wanted to make like a Hawaiian shirt, but with like SG40s on it or something. Like, I think that would be funny. Anyway,
the curbs are either 2 degrees or less. If they had built it differently, they might have built it with even like a, higher speed curbs. But that didn't happen. And the thing is, with the cutoff, you have to look at the topography of northern New Jersey through which it goes. All your mountains are going like this, and the cutoff is going like this. So that's where you get the cuts going through the hills, and then the fills going through the valleys between the mountains. So
should I take the Pennsylvanian from Pittsburgh to Philly? If you don't mind that it takes like an hour extra of... it takes an hour longer than driving. I personally enjoyed it a lot. I was also a little sleep deprived because I got off the Capital Limited and then immediately on the Pennsylvanian. And I still enjoyed it. I was kind of just like glued to the window the entire time. I was like, wow, Place Pennsylvania, steel mill, sad town, weird funicular, like in Johnstown. And then, like, of course, horseshoe curve, Pennsylvania was a cheap bastard and didn't do a tunnel. Even in Altoona, you'll see stuff. There's a GG1 there. It's cool. It's definitely a cool ride. I definitely recommend bringing a book or something, because there are like very boring sections. Yeah. But what was it? What was it? We'll get back to Chuck Walsh.
that's why this was such an expensive proposition.
At this point, you're probably wondering to yourself, if this is such a great piece of infrastructure, then what the hell happened to it, and why is it abandoned now? Well, honestly, the answer to this question is very complex, but there are a few major factors that led to its current state. But the main downfall of the Lackawanna Cut-off was the collapse of Penn Central, and in turn taking most of the railroads in the Northeast with it.
Everything comes back to Penn Central in the end. But anyway, what tips do you have to become a Chuck Walsh for your own local rail revival project? Well, the first thing you should realize, excuse me, first thing you should realize is that it's impossible to do something by yourself. And the things that you need to either do is, one, form a group that you have some capabilities with to influence other people in your area, or do what I did and just kind of talk about the stuff all the time online. The main thing is that you have to make it very approachable by the average person, because like we, as transit and urban planning enthusiasts, we like talking about the specifics, and specifics are awesome. They're great to talk about nuance. Excuse me. But the thing is that the average person is not interested in that stuff. They're interested in what affects me and what affects my commute daily, or what affects my life daily. So you kind of have to always relate it back to them and say like you have a friend that commutes to work this one direction, and they always complain about traffic, or they always complain about the fact that like they're always tired from commuting. You got to be like, well, wouldn't it be nice if there was like a other option? Or wouldn't it be nice if like we took like other people got out of your way, like they took transit or something? You always got to relate it to someone's personal struggle. And that's like kind of difficult because obviously everyone's different, but that's one way to do it. The other way is to make fun of things, because there's nothing more that changes someone's mind faster than making fun of something and making someone like laugh or think something is funny, because you're talking about a very you're talking about a subject that everyone can relate to, like traffic or something like that. I can't tell you specifically how to do something in general, but like you have to somehow relate it back to what you're doing personally, and that's not easy. That's not easy at all. There is okay. Let's see before I restart this. Will the Keystone ever be electrified all the way to Pittsburgh? Yeah, probably eventually, but the problem is that you have to take over the Harrisburg to Pittsburgh section from Norfolk Southern, or just force Norfolk Southern to electrify. What happens first? I don't know. Or you could have an entire high-speed rail section from Harrisburg to Pittsburgh that's built separate from Norfolk Southern. What happens? We'll see. Some things are harder to advocate for than the other. That's the thing, is like, if all this shit got nationalized tomorrow, this stuff would be piece of cake, super easy to do. But the problem is that like it's all owned by private companies, and those private companies in the end have the actual say of what to do with this stuff. So yeah, I want the Allegheny base tunnel, or the Altoona base tunnel.
And then of course came the Conrail era.
There it is again. Speaking of,
Conrail takes over April 1st of 1976 and continues to operate this line until the end of 1978 as a freight line only. Passenger service had ended on this line in 1970, so Amtrak never becomes involved with this line at that when Amtrak is created. But essentially this line and the old Erie line up through Port Jervis and such become superfluous to them. They don't need them.
And then this is when all the depressing things start happening. Conrail not only stops using the line, but they go through the effort of removing all of the track on the line. This leaves the cutoff with basically an unusable condition. But it gets worse. Conrail tries to sell off the line to private developers, and that's when Chuck's group steps in to try and save the cutoff.
The Conrail literally sells off the...
So like this video, or to answer someone's question first, is Philly pet friendly? Yeah, generally. I mean, like the building that I'm in, it's like $25 extra a month for rent if you have a pet. Do people lie about that? Probably. But like, it's pretty obvious because there's a lot of dogs in my building comparatively to some of the other buildings. But yeah, it's only $25 extra a month for cat or dog. That's not too bad, I think. But it all depends on the landlord. There are so many different landlords in Philly because there's so many different properties. So all depends. But I mean, like Philly's cool because it's generally pretty cheap compared to other Northeast cities, especially one that has the systems and neighborhoods and stuff that we have. What was it? Yeah, the Conrail music section. People in the city should have chickens, decks, waste and food. If urban farming is kind of inefficient, but that maybe would require a different video. We should just delete the suburbs that have taken farms from us and make cities denser. That's actually way more efficient. I do have a video on that. I don't really go too much into the efficiency aspect of it, but I kind of talk about the sprawl aspect.
The cutoff.
I was also going to say about this video specifically is that, like, I love Chuck, but sometimes it's hard to make interview stuff interesting because, like, I personally have ADHD, and when I make my content, I make sure that it's cut in a way so that it's fast enough, to the point enough, and it doesn't drag on, because there's so much content that, especially the vlog style stuff, where people just drag on the like thing, you just want to hear it. Like, that's one of the reasons why I don't like Johnny Harris stuff, is because like Johnny Harris stuff doesn't get to the fucking point. It's like, I want to hear the answer of what you're talking about and then talk about extra things plus that. Like, I think he makes okay videos, but it's just like, no, I don't like the style of it. Speaking of that, let's probably go to a different video on here. What was something I was talking about before? Oh yeah, this is the TF2 one. The canal one. I don't want to do the canal one because we need to do a slightly later video. What's one that people often ask about all the time? Well, there's the one I was talking about with the is California high-speed rail good? There was that one's a decent one. This is gonna be interesting. Oh, if the fucking Roosevelt Boulevard subway actually goes forward, it's wild that this is the video that fucking started it. I'm going to get so drunk when that project gets announced officially. Rust Belt video. Yeah, let's watch that one. Where is that? There? Yeah. Escape. Johnny CIA Harris. So true. Row homes in Philly look like a steal in terms of price alone. Yeah, a lot of them are. It depends on the neighborhood too. Let's see. I think you need another nationalized railroads video because you've gotten so much better with your content. More importantly, the issue that's happening. Yeah. Like I said, there's a big video coming. Very big video. Spending way too much time and effort on it video. It's frustrating because like I want to do these big videos all the time where I kind of disappear for like 3-4 months, but like the monetary aspect or side of that is impossible at the moment. I don't make enough from YouTube or from Patreon to make that possible. But I'm working on these videos in the background slowly and getting them all done. But still, I have to prioritize usually the every 2 week or every 3 week videos to sort of make this work. Let's see. Yeah, so like I will have the nationalized video, another nationalization video done at some point. Also, a little bit of secret. There might be some federal there might be some, I don't know, I can't give away too much. But there might be some congressional thing happening later this year, early next year of it might not pass, but it's going to get people talking about it. So, there's some great people working on this in the background. And you don't be like a Wendover and be like, "Oh, this is never politically feasible," or "This will never show up in politics." I think it might. Well, I think more stuff is happening than you think. How do you know that? I talk to the right people. Part of this job allows me to talk to many people, and those many people have very, very cool insights on many different things. And that's part of the reason why I can do this, is that like many of those people give me really cool insights. Yeah, industry sources. I get plenty of industry sources. I have plenty of friends inside of SEPTA that give me the deets about what's going on in SEPTA, and I'm sure that the higher up managements in SEPTA do not like the fact that somehow I end up knowing things. But I have many good friends that allow me to talk about and know about these things, which is great. So yeah, don't be a lame ass status quo person. You can get shit done. Just takes a while. Would you believe me if I said that one of the best places to escape climate change is Cleveland, Ohio? Yeah, I know. Let me tell you why. When it seems like there's a forest fire, drought, or hurricane wherever you turn in the United States, where would you go to be as safe as possible in the future from these growing climate change threats? Whoa, doomerism alert! Here on my channel, posting doomer comments is illegal. I truly believe that whatever climate change does, we have smart and driven people that will always strive to make changes necessary for their home cities to be more resilient. I believe that most cities... is that a no, not just bikes warning? No, someone asked, why does this have a high dislike ratio? So when you make a topic that's like challenging people's opinions on certain things, you will get a higher dislike ratio. So I basically said like some of the more southern places on that map or on the thumbnail are probably not going to end up in the best situation. So people will automatically not like the video because like it's going against their preconceived notions. Like they might have bought property in Florida, and seeing a video that's like, no, Florida's not a good place to live, they're like, I immediately hate this guy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. So yeah. Yeah, no, if you say a certain part of America that is generally in the normal lexicon considered bad, and you say it's good, people will dislike that. Like I'm saying that the Rust Belt is good, so there will be a lot of people that will dislike the fact that I'm calling something that they think is bad good. Like it's very, very monkey mindset. Like, bad guy I do not agree with says thing opposite of what I have preconceived notions of. I do not like him. Like it's very that much. But yeah, let's watch it. These are fixable and salvageable, but some require an enormous amount of work compared to others. But yes, there might be a few that will have to be abandoned in the future, but I still think that we'll get through this together. Anyway, Pittsburgh is a city located in western Pennsylvania in the Allegheny Mountains. Originally, its existence is largely based on the abundance of iron ore and coal nearby, making Pittsburgh one of the largest producers of steel in the 1800s and early 1900s. Also, one of the biggest producers of rich fucks and labor violations. Pittsburgh has a downtown core on a peninsula with other neighborhoods across both of the surrounding rivers, and some on the cliffs that face the rivers. And on the other hand, we have the original home of the Seminole peoples. Tampa, Florida was incorporated after the Civil War in 1887. Home to a big cigar trade, it stayed relatively small as a city until after World War II. Because of tourism and with the growth of the Sun Belt, Tampa grew substantially in the late 1900s. Tampa's geography consists of a downtown sprawling into multiple peninsulas and being surrounded by outstretched suburbs built into the Florida swamps. As you can tell, these are very different cities, but Pittsburgh will be better because of its location. Pittsburgh is located in the Allegheny Mountains, but these mountains are part of a larger Americana legend, the Rust Belt. The Rust Belt is a series of cities stretching from Minneapolis to upstate New York. And the rust adjective comes from the fact that most of these cities are past their prime. And their prime was the era of American industry and might. The Rust Belt's geography is mostly people in Michigan dislike Ohio and vice versa. I mean, that's your natural thing, is that I don't like the state that's adjacent to me, even though they're literally my neighbors. That state bad. Like when I grew up in New Jersey, Pennsylvania drivers, they're shit. Get out of the left lane. Like that's how people that you're just if you don't hate people from the adjacent state to you, then you're not American. Due to these cities being prime transportation routes, either from water or rail. Since most of these cities needed water access, they were founded on the Great Lakes. The Great Lakes are a series of some of the largest freshwater lakes in the world, so large that they're often treated by sailors like they're sailing on the ocean. Wrecks and stories about sailors on the lakes is a huge part of American folklore and culture, such as the story of the This is not true. The closest place you'll ever get to, like, organized chaos in the Autobahn is the New Jersey Turnpike. If you drive on the New Jersey Turnpike, there is actual rules or unwritten rules that a lot of drivers will follow just because, like, it is the New Jersey Turnpike and, like, you shouldn't be in the left lane. There's signs that say that too. Says Edmund Fitzgerald. And now comes the important part for climate change. The Great Lakes not only allow for access to fresh water to be easy and reliable, but they also moderate the weather. The Rust Belt's location in North America will also prevent it from getting too hot. Most of the cities are in relatively cool areas, and the Appalachian Mountains and the Great Plains generally protect these cities from other weather events too. The only menace to these cities... We love stock footage, don't we? So, like, one thing I don't like a lot about the infographics channels is that, like, and I'm trying to distance myself from it, if you'll see it in a lot of the newer videos, is, like, there's a lot of stock footage that's used, there's a lot of, like, infographic stuff that's used, and it's not real, it doesn't feel real. It feels like it's manufactured, and I don't like that. I'm trying to move away from that. That's why you'll see, like, models, scanned documents. You'll see actual film stuff that I do personally now and have done for a while. It's just obviously every video I can't film or show something specific, but it's like channels feel more real and feel more you remember more when someone has their own footage and it's not just generic stock footage, or at least that's how I feel. Is snowstorms and nor'easters. Because of the snowstorms and cold winters, there's been an unfortunate shift from places like the Rust Belt to southern cities in the last 40 years. But a portion of these cities in the Sun Belt will soon start... someone asks, do you like the REM? Yeah, I think it's fine. I think they should have made it heavy rail, though. I think that going with 2-car trains or even 4-car trains is baby. You need to go with 6, 8-car trains, because those 2 or 4-car trains will be overloaded at some point, and then you'll wish you built the infrastructure bigger. I think North American cities are baby for not building heavy rail metro systems, and automated don't care. But like, and the platform screen door is very good though. That's good. But like, yeah, no, I think it's very wimpy to build light automated metro instead of heavy automated metro, meaning like 6, 8-car train, real rolling stock, not this half-assed rolling stock. Because like enough fucking money goes to highways. I don't give a shit about transit funding. Make the transit project $1 billion or a couple billion, $10 billion, $20 billion. That's nothing compared to the drop in the bucket that highways get every year. To experience. I am Alon Levy's nemesis. I say, spend more. That's the hostile nature of climate change. Places like Tampa will suffer the most with both increased storm activity and rising sea levels. And many that live there will look for refuge in other places that are climate havens like the Rust Belt. Ironically, some of the people that move south will move back north again to the places that they originally left behind to avoid dealing with constant weather-related problems. I forgot to add this. Gotta put funk in this. I forgot about that. And there's a regular car reviews thing in here too. Well, you're probably really confused by that transition, but I want you to imagine a competition. This competition is to make the most fuel-efficient vehicle possible. I think if you actually look at the analytics, there's like a major drop-off in views at that point because a lot of normie viewers are like, "What the fuck was that?" Should the federal government fully fund transit projects? Yeah, California high-speed rail should get more money. Going the furthest distance using the least amount of fuel. Now, I will give you two platforms to build your efficient vehicle off of. A beat-up and barely working 1995 Honda Civic, or a brand new Bradley fighting vehicle. Your goal is not to fight anyone, simply to modify one of these vehicles second to none vehicles in some way to be the most built by the FMC Corporation that has a massive building here in Philadelphia. Efficient vehicle possible. Obviously, to win this competition, you choose the Civic, because no amount of modification of the Bradley would make it have better fuel economy than fixing up the Civic. When we think about urban planning, we should think about it the same way. Some cities were built from the start to be inefficient and car-centric, while others were built around public transit and walking. Just compare a Rust Belt city like Chicago to a Sun Belt. Great transition. Yeah, it's like I said, it kind of, you can shoot the Civic, therefore it won't be as fuel efficient because it's dead. Yeah, FMC builds tanks. They also build aircraft or airport tugs. FMC is a weird corporation. They're super weird. But yeah, FMC built the Bradley fighting vehicle. City like Houston. Chicago was built densely and in hubs that sat along elevated metro lines and commuter trains that served the region. Houston, on the other hand, was mainly populated and constructed during and after the 1950s, becoming incredibly car-centric. Chicago naturally has walkable, efficient neighborhoods that only later became molested by car infrastructure to try and serve suburban car owners. It's easy to make Chicago a sustainable and carbon-neutral city because of its robust transit network and walkable neighborhoods. On the other hand, Houston and its sprawl is nowhere close to being sustainable. Both its car infrastructure and its spread out. Oh yeah, what is it? Oshkosh? Yeah, Oshkosh is weird too. I mean, all the defense contractors are weird. They either like have been defense contractors for forever, or they've been building like fire trucks and then all of a sudden decided to be like, oh yeah, I think I'll build a tank. Like it's interesting. It's funny. Out incoherent neighborhoods make shining this turd nearly impossible without major redesigns of large portions of land. Basically, you can slap as many light rail lines on the landscape as you want, but you aren't going to escape the fact that it's nearly impossible to leave your neighborhood to buy something without a car. But I don't want to ride a train with other people or live next to someone. Okay. Oh, I forgot I did that voice in this video. I think Regular Car Reviews commented on this somewhere. Why does YouTube do this where like if you like shit, it should show up, but this isn't showing any of the liked comments that I guess it's showing newer ones. I definitely liked comments on this before. Why are they just not showing up? Weird. Cool. Hop in the wage cage every day, get stuck in traffic, then wonder why your sanity and empathy for others goes out the window. Finally return to your suburban sprawl balloon frame house and watch the local TV news to raise your blood pressure even more. Instead, I'd rather enjoy walking down the street to a local bar, getting blasted with friends, not needing... Oh, this is funny. So I went... When did this come out? Yeah, October 19th, 2021. So in the beginning of September... wait, does it actually show? I must have linked him somewhere in the video. So yeah, in 2021, I made like a little trip to Chicago, and I took... but I first took the Empire service to Buffalo, visited a friend in Buffalo. Actually, if you're in my Discord... Their name is Rose. If you know Rose, I was visiting her in Buffalo, and Buffalo is a very interesting city. It's frustratingly mid in certain ways, but in other ways, it's like you can see the potential. Their subway system's weird, to say the least. But Buffalo, good. Buffalo, very good. And got very drunk while I was there too. Also good. Very cheap. Good. Best thing about the Midwest, the cheapest drinks you have ever had at a bar. You go to any bar in the Midwest, so fucking cheap. Oh my God. It is the cheapest place in the United States. If you go to a bar and like spend money on drinks, cheapest fucking place in the US. I have not found a place that's consistently as cheap as Midwestern cities as, I don't think so. Being a designated driver because everyone can safely get home by walking or using transit. Maybe you don't like that stuff. But if you give the slightest shit about the environment and sustainability, you'll want to promote these kinds of city layouts that exist. Yeah, you'll see that like in the comments. My parents, my parents moved our family from Buffalo to Nashville a couple decades ago. Lately, I've been wishing they didn't do that. I think in the future, even your parents will probably wish they didn't do that. Because like, even though they probably think that Buffalo is a shithole, which I mean, like there are certain places in Buffalo that so many people have moved away that like, there's just no one that lives there anymore in certain neighborhoods, which that's probably the opinion, stupid fly, that a lot of people have of Buffalo. It's just like the weather and like the actual infrastructure of the city will get good after a while. Because the problem with like Nashville and outside of the bachelorette hellhole that is downtown, bachelorette parties, I should say. There's not much walkable stuff. They're like some of the older suburbs outside of Nashville are a little walkable, but outside the core, which is surrounded by a highway, you don't have too much. And I'm also frustrated the Koch brothers or whatever stopped the light rail that was going to be built there. But anyway, back to the Midwest. Exemplify walking. Anyway, all I'm saying is that a lot of newer American cities need complete redesigns that would take decades. But the Rust Belt already has cities and great layouts and neighborhoods that make building sustainable cities a lot easier. Retrofitting the sprawling hellscapes of the Sun Belt is going to be extremely difficult, but just renovating a small place in Buffalo already puts you leagues above them. So if you have the power to move to some other place in the US and want to beat the climate change migration in 20 years, So these shots here I got from a friend of mine. He's also a mod in my Discord, Henry. Henry used to stan Cleveland, and like, yeah, there's parts of Cleveland that are awesome. But it's just like comparatively to other cities, it's frustrating because there's a lot of frustrating things that are wrong with Cleveland. And it's just like, there's not too many people that live there that advocate for it. So that's why I give so many people credit that live in these places and that advocate for these things. It's tough. It's fucking tough, especially when you have like an establishment government that is used to not doing much ever. So tough. So honestly, giving up and moving somewhere else is okay, but it's frustrating. It's frustrating that you have to do that in the first place. It's frustrating that you can't stay somewhere and make the place that you're living currently better. Because like, I don't recommend moving to Europe because there's a lot you have to change to do that. But like moving someplace internally in the United States or in Canada to another city, yeah, might suggest that. Especially since certain U.S. cities are cheaper, and if you can find a job in them, and the walkability aspect and transit aspect of it, yeah, I recommend it. Yes, Helena now. Excuse me. I guess another trans friend of ours. But Cleveland, yeah, Cleveland's very weird. Yes, Cleveland is also replacing the subway cars with light rail, but that kind of makes sense. You'll see like. Implore you to give the Rust Belt a chance. It not only has good cities with car. So like they run 2-car trains on their subway system, and it's also overhead wire. So like in the future, they want to standardize their equipment because they have like 2 or 3 light rail lines and they have 1 subway line. So it's like you might as well just standardize the subway line to use the same equipment as the light rail lines that you already have, which is not a bad idea. What do you think is the next route Amtrak will upgrade to 110? Don't know. Probably something that already exists, and something that's very straight, and something that's very yeah, something, if you probably something in the Midwest, I would assume. That would be your best guess. But hey Alan, love your videos. Found it there was insightful and funny. Plan on moving to Philadelphia in the coming years closer. What advice do you give for someone moving into a city? If you have the option when you move to a new city, don't stress too much about finding an apartment unless you have a specific date or your job is a specific date that you have to meet. Like, if you have the option to slowly look for apartments and look for a good deal and good location, do that. Or if you can stay with someone in the city that you know and you're able to look for like a month for a place to stay and you don't rush into an apartment, do that. Because you will find a better something if you spend your time looking and spend your time touring places than you will just immediately rushing into something. But like Philly, you're generally good in most, obviously the closer to center city, the better is usually how Philly is. But if you can find something in South Philly or in West Philly, east of like 48th Street or something, you're fine. Or if you find something north of Center City in like Fairmont, Fishtown, Brewerytown, no libs, but that's like the hipster New Yorker hipster spot currently. No libs is fine. It's just obviously the gentrification central. It's a lot of good spots. Manayunk is cool, but Manayunk is further out. There's some other cool places like Germantown, Chestnut Hill, but Chestnut Hill is expensive. Yeah, there's a lot of cool neighborhoods in Philly that I totally recommend. It depends what you want. So the best is honestly to look around and just see the vibes around places that you think. Wolverine has gotten a lot of work in Michigan. Yes, it has. I'm looking forward to that. Minnesota. Second train to Duluth. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the Duluth train. I'm looking for the Ohio 3Cs corridor. That'll happen eventually. Favorite transit system other than SEPTA? I mean, probably NJ Transit or MTA, because those are the ones I've used the most. But if I were to pick something like really cool or specific, I'd probably pick like WMATA or Muni. Muni is also pretty cool. But I don't know. It depends. I don't like specifically one system better than others. I mean, CTA fucking cool. I mean, the elevated system's so cool. There's an aesthetic to it that's like nothing else, honestly. Let's see. The 3C corridor will happen. I'm telling you that now. There's also the Cincinnati thing. I need to make a video on the Cincinnati thing. I have it written on my board. But Cincinnati owns some, they own the right-of-way for a Norfolk Southern track between Cincinnati and Chattanooga. And like they're having a vote this fall about selling it, and they shouldn't sell it. You should keep that motherfucker. I wish more urbanist channels would talk about schools more. The main reason families leave cities and suburbs is because cities have bad schools. This is true. The problem is that when you improve things in a city, unfortunately, the schools are the last things to improve. I wish that wasn't the case, but generally that's sort of the status quo about how things change. If I was God Emperor of Philly, or mayor as they call it, I would focus a lot on the schools, and I would also yell at the state of Pennsylvania for not doing enough, because they don't. Chicago is weird. Chicago and Philly are weird because they have a lot of charter schools. So like the public schools themselves are not the best, but the charter schools are all right, or pretty good. And I don't blame people for putting their kids in private or charter schools if they want to still live in the city, because like it's frustrating. It's frustrating you have to do that. What's your issue with Colorado cities? They just need to densify. There's too much single family housing in most of them. We'll watch the rest of this. Great bones, but it also has some of the most affordable places to rent or buy in the country currently. This summer, I was able to travel to Buffalo and Chicago, and they were some of my favorite US cities for different reasons. So you have enough money to cough up for a private school. Yeah, either that or there's charter schools. So charter schools are private schools, but they're funded with state money. I don't agree with the model, but like if you have to put your kid in one of them and they get into, because you know them exactly what J-Lock said, most affordable cities in the Northeast. Also, they just happened to elect a socialist mayor, so that's kind of cool. Also, I unironically think that Cleveland is one of the most underrated cities in the U.S. Is the stream still dead, or is it going? This is my... Okay, stream is back. Okay, that's second good. Video. I don't know why it died for a second. Don't... my internet's good. It shouldn't be doing that. Yeah, please don't do that. Don't die. That's not good. Let me actually move this out of the screen so I can keep this on my second monitor so I can tab to it without having to do this. Browser. There we go. Oh, no, keep chat on top. Keep that on top. Okay. I don't have Comcast. I actually have Verizon Fios fiber. Let's see. Have you ever watched Beaver Geography's videos? Yeah, they're fine. He's just young. He's also like, he also focuses on, he has a hyperfixation with highways. That's fine. It's just, you got to admit the highways are not, like, it's kind of like Road Guy Rob. You got to admit that, like, they're kind of not the best thing to build. You got to build other things. So, yeah. The trail video is fun. Yeah, I mean, like, so we'll watch this. So the problem with a lot of my videos is that some of the most fun videos I've ever made have gotten the least amount of views. This is one of them. Why can't SEPTA just Google Pay for the... You'd be really... oh, you're happy. I don't know if you know, but they just announced a pilot to do tap to pay for credit cards, Google Pay, Apple Pay. Like, SEPTA is doing that right now. Like, you can go to their website and sign up for the trial. You can do credit card, tap to pay, Google Pay, Apple Pay right now. So you're in luck. Yeah, Miles in Transit's good. I've had him in another video. Let's see. I think railroads should be nationalized, but at state level. That's an interesting take, because I've thought about that too. Because technically, all of Vermont is all national. I think 90% of the rail in Vermont is owned by the state, which is interesting. But yeah, let's watch this video. This is I did a hike on the Appalachian Trail, and I sort of did a video about it because I was like, I have a bunch of footage. I need to use it. And this is one of the older ones. This is from 2021, June 17th, 2021. So, oh god damn, 2 years ago now.
Alan, this isn't about urbanism, nor is it about train.
Yes, I know that. so two things about the intro here. One is that the reason I use Wolfpack a lot, and the reason why you'll see Wolfpack in a lot of my videos, is because Wolfpack is fucking based, and they don't have a record label, and they don't copyright their music because they know that their music will spread more if they don't copyright it and people use it in their stuff. So Wolfpack and Jack Stratton, based, fantastic, good people. And then two, John knows that his pack here is kind of fucked up. So people were commenting about that, I think, on this video, and also just as we watch this. But John and I know his pack is fucked up. So it's not supposed to be like that. It's just that we had to make it like that. It's 11:15 in Philly. You good? Yes, I'm a late night person. I've always been a late night person. I finish some of my videos at 2, 3 a.m. sometimes because I'm insane.
Do you want walkability? Well, what about a place that the only form of transit is walking? That's right. We're not talking about anything urban.
Also, you can tell this is an older video because it's the older microphone that I'm using.
Today, we're talking about the minimalistic infrastructure of the Appalachian Trail. And believe me, there are many things that urban planners can learn from on this journey. So to make a bold statement, the Appalachian Trail is actually one of the best examples of regional planning in the United States. In 1921, a man named Brenton McKay published an article called An Appalachian Trail, a Project in Regional Planning. The article laid out the foundations of how to build the 2,000-mile-long trail, following parks in the Appalachian Mountains. Within the first paragraph of McKay's article, in 1921, he predicted that suburban sprawl would eat away at nature and farms. His main goal of the trail was to conserve large parts of land that were relatively close to East Coast cities, allowing for those that live in those cities to get to travel and experience the parks that were created as part of the trail. The article eventually inspired organizations and states to construct and allocate land to the trail in the name of conservation. This video isn't entirely about regional planning. That's a topic that deserves its own video, but at least understand that the United States is heavily lacking in regional planning, especially when it comes to housing and land use. That's why the Appalachian Trail is such an oddity. It's a shining example of regional planning and forward thinking done right. The final version of the trail today is 2,200 miles or 3,500 kilometers long. It stretches from Springer Mountain in Georgia to Mount Katahdin in Maine. The trail is exclusively for hikers only. No bikes, no cars, no horses, and especially no ATVs.
Wow, that's the best dislike to like ratio. Yes, so the videos that generally get less views, because this only has 44,000 views, are generally... Oh, so there's a 4-foot. Are generally going to be the ones that are better with the dislike to like ratio, because it will be more of the audience which you are expecting to be in the video. So like, so when I do a video and doesn't get as much views, it's generally going to be more diehard fans or more people that are going to just be interested in the topic by itself, not past the like, not past the thumbnail being super catchy or something like that. So like, yeah, so the videos that will be lower in view count will generally have, this is not always the case, but generally the videos that will be lower in view count will have a better dislike to like ratio. So
V's of any sort. The Appalachian Trail is famous for what is called a through hike, hiking from the beginning to the end in one season. Now let's talk about infrastructure. That's what you're here for, right? Well, during the hiking season, the AT becomes very busy with hikers. Now, even a trail in the middle of the wilderness does have some infrastructure.
Why are we watching this video?
First, let's start off with blazes. Blazes are essentially lane markers on a road. They let you know officially where the trail actually goes. Multiple sets of these markers can be put together to show a direction, or you can get different colors and shapes to indicate that you're going on a different trail. The blazes are the most prominent feature on the AT, mainly because they're designed so that you can stand under a blaze and be able to have the view of the next one, so they're literally never leaving your sight. The next slightly larger piece of infrastructure is AT shelters. Since the AT is one of the busiest hiking trails with many people camping every night, It makes sense to have designated campgrounds that are marked off.
While you guys finish
in
this,
these campgrounds is usually a shelter. Shelters can come in all shapes and sizes, but they essentially all look like overgrown bus shelters, with 3 walls, a roof, and an elevated floor. Sometimes shelters can have built-in chimneys or extra tables and shelves inside, but most of them follow this general format. Shelters are usually spaced about every 3 to 7 miles on the trail and are usually built somewhat close to a water source. The general theme of the Appalachian Trail is to use and conserve the nature around you, and to use infrastructure in the most efficient way possible. There is a lesson to be learned either in waste management or conservation here. The AT always reminds me that there should be a distinction between city and wilderness. Suburban developments encroaching further and further away from major cities is a huge problem, and one way to fix that is with firm and broad regional plans, which the US has a long way to go with. On this trip we carpooled to the hike to a specific location on the trail. But before you accuse me of not walking the walk with taking transit, I've done a complete hike on the AT based entirely around the premise of taking trains. Unfortunately, that hike was before I started recording a lot for this channel, but I do have a few pictures and short videos from the hike too. In a future video, I'll talk about why it's important to have transit access in rural areas, but one of the reasons is to connect to these amazing places like the AT without needing to drag a car along with you. If ever the chance comes up, or you're invited to go backpacking with a friend, I totally recommend it. There's no feeling quite the same as finishing a long hike with a heavy pack, only to have reached a spot in the wilderness that's only accessible via hiking. If you meet some other backpackers along the way, it's also fun to swap stories about the trail and to talk about fun spots ahead or behind you that you must hit. The best part about it though is that any backpacking trip is guaranteed to give you tons of stories to tell. And hey, you might just gain a new hobby. If you like this video, feel free to subscribe. I also have a Patreon if you wish to support me in making such diverse content. Either way, I wish you clear skies and happy hiking. We play a fire watch up here.
So how far are we now, Alvin?
Just in time. Let's see. Yeah, I mean the AT was designed sort of to be the sort of green belt for a lot of the Northeast. Let's see. Let's see. So part of the video,
To a specific location on.
so not only was there Wolf music in this, but there was also Poly Bridge, if you guys recognize that. But unfortunately, was that in this video? I think it was mentioned in this video where was this a section? Yeah, so this was the section we hiked. So this video specifically, we hiked this section up here, which is the High Point Park section, which was like, I don't know, it was like 15, 20 miles long. Great section, very beautiful. I've hiked this section over here before. This was fun, because we went from, so we took the Port Jervis train up to Harriman, hiked down to the trail, and then over on the trail over to Manitou, and then got on a Metro North train and went back down. That was very cool. I want to do something like that again. I wish more of the trail was accessible via transit, because there's only like one other spot where an NJ Transit bus intersects the trail. And there's only a few other places on the trail itself where transit actually intersects it at some point. It's frustrating. Yeah. The auto train is fine. I think it's a fine service. There's some stuff like it that exists in Europe. It's definitely more of a North American thing though, for the specific type of service like the auto train. So yeah. I think it's fine. I don't have any like good or bad things to say about it specifically, but what's your thoughts on congestion pricing? I might do a video on it, but congestion pricing is generally good, and the politicians in New Jersey are whining. I think the only thing, I think that they're slightly I think that they're slightly wrong in that like they should be going after a different thing. So instead of going after the pricing itself, they should be going after the fact that all the money is going to MTA when part of it should also be going to NJ Transit, which is the dumb part. They should be advocating for getting the money for New Jersey Transit, not just advocating for getting rid of the dumb congestion charge. Well, no, it's dumb that they're advocating for it. The congestion charge is good. Watching this on 1/3 of San Diego's BRT right now. Bus bumpy. That's funny. Is it true that you hate Brightline? I don't hate Brightline. I just think that it's like potentially bad. It's potentially a bad thing for the future of how transit will be shaped in the future. I'm going to do a whole video on it, but I think that Brightline is good and fine in certain places, especially like Florida, where it's politically hard to get something publicly funded. But I think that Brightline is difficult because in the future it provides service that is okay, but also at the same time is frustrating because it's a private service. It might be publicly funded, but there's still middlemen making money off of it, and that it's because it's private, it's not inherently guaranteed that you're going to have a certain amount of service. Yeah, probably the state will kind of regulate it a little bit more in the future once they realize that it's such a lifeline for a lot of people. But for now, that's just how it is. How do you plan out trips using Transit, Google, Apple Maps? So I use Transit, the Transit app, the green one. That's how I majority plan out my trips, and then Google Maps is how I use Google Maps to find locations that I'm going to and read about the locations. I think Google Maps is easily the best for that. I think Google Maps is also easily the best for 3D scans of places too. So we should watch Nationalization.
Bare minimum.
Yeah, let's watch this. I just dropped that? Where'd that go? Where did that go? Maybe I didn't drop anything. Okay. I'm like eating pudding and I thought I dropped some. Did I? The fuck would have gone? Find out tomorrow, probably. Google Maps never updated the regional connector in LA. They probably will eventually, but yeah, transit on Google Maps definitely not the best. I use Google Maps just for planning the end getting somewhere, not the transit itself.
Just so you know, I won't.
Thoughts on high frequency rail? I'm disappointed that Amtrak didn't bid for it because I would have thought that would have been funny.
Won't be mentioning.
But I also think it's the Canadian government being lazy and not and being wimpy and not actually committing to a real high speed rail corridor. It's not good, but it's better than nothing. Oh wait, I gotta redo that intro. I can't just like.
Just so you know, I won't be mentioning in this video, but I will say that I do really, really like these graphs. These are nice graphs.
There's some problems with this video.
There is no
Spot the problem. Spot the problem. There's one big problem here. Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, um, the comments on this video, a decent amount of them see the JR logo and are like, well, actually, so JR is technically private, but the private companies got handed over public infrastructure that the nationalized railroad ran for a long time, and then the private companies got handed over all this infrastructure for free, no debt at all. So, like, of course they're going to do well, and of course with the Japanese like style work ethic, they're going to do well. Japan is pretty much the only place that a privatized railroad is obviously going to succeed, especially when it's handed something with no debt. So when I make the second nationalization video, JR in Japan, it's going to get its own section, because every time you mention nationalization somewhere on the internet, someone is going to, well, actually, you with Japanese railroads.
No country in the
Yes, bring back JNR. There's actually a decent amount of people in Japan that want to bring back or re-nationalize JR. There's an entire anime about it. It's called Rail Wars. It's pretty good.
world with great passenger rail accessibility, pricing, and frequency that has a privatized rail network. All of the best countries when it comes to intercity regional rail networks are all nationalized, either owned by the government directly or through a government-run public company. France's SNCF, Germany's DB, Switzerland's SBB, Japan's JR, Austria's ABB, and Spain's Renfe are just a few great examples of the many nationalized rail companies and networks. All of these companies own the tracks, infrastructure, and the rolling stock, aka the trains. And then there is the US. 90% of US railroads lines are privately owned. Amtrak owns less than 700 miles of track and runs mainly on track owned by the big four private railroads: CSX, Norfolk Southern, Union Pacific, and BNSF. These companies routinely block Amtrak trains with freight either by accident or on purpose. But being made late by a freight train is a small problem compared to what these companies do for improving their rail infrastructure. And when I say improving, I mean either doing the bare minimum required for maintenance or actively making their logistics worse by single tracking some of the busiest main lines with the guise of using precision scheduled railroading. It's so obvious that most of these companies are only in it for the short-term profits. So one solution to this is nationalizing the entire rail network. Nationalization isn't something that the US hasn't done before with anything else. The entire US interstate system is nationalized, with the roads being owned by either the federal government or state governments. It's not unusual for the federal government.
By the way, this is the bane of video editors everywhere. When you have a 4x3 video or 4x3 film, you're like, what the fuck do I do with it? So you either have like one of three options. You either put these like blurred, zoomed in video to fill it up, you zoom it in, or you letterbox it with like some outline, like an old CRT TV or something.
Government to pass large infrastructure bills supporting these pieces of infrastructure. One said bill was the reason why interstates were built in the first place, the Federal Highway Act of 1956. Nationalization of US railroads isn't a foreign concept either. Throughout the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, the competition from the interstate system along with long-distance trucking became commonplace, causing railroad traffic to decline. In the late 1960s...
What flag do I have? I should just put above it like NJ Transit, so there's no question of what it is. Because, yeah, that's the joke. It looks like the bi flag. It's actually the NJ Transit colors.
3 large railroads, the Pennsylvania, the New York Central, and the New Haven, merged into one, forming Penn Central. Because of the terrible merger and the freight numbers, Penn Central filed for bankruptcy in 1970, later eventually disappearing in 1976. Many other railroads at the time also simultaneously went bankrupt, like the Reading Railroad, Erie-Lackawanna, Lehigh Valley, Central of New Jersey, and the Lehigh and Hudson. All of these bankruptcies caused a massive void in the US transportation network, but the federal government came to help.
And on the 6th day, the Fed said, "Let there be Conrail," and it was good.
Conrail emerged as a new quasi-nationalized consolidated rail corporation. Basically, it was nationalization without the total government ownership. Weird, right? Well, to add to Conrail was Amtrak. Amtrak took over all the failed railroads' long-distance passenger lines while Conrail focused on freight. Amtrak was built to fail, but miraculously survived and
dream of mine is high-speed rail between NYC and Buffalo. Yeah, as the New York Central intended. It will happen at some point. It's a matter of time. At least we'll get like 110 or 125 at least, if we don't get full high-speed rail. But yeah, no, that song, if you guys have never heard it, that whole background track behind the Conrail stuff, that's Neil Cicierega and Mouth Moods, I think it was. So just listen to Neil Cicerega's stuff. He does like mashup albums that are fantastic. Definitely always recommend him.
Continues to be the U.S.'s intercity passenger rail carrier today. Conrail was eventually split and bought out by CSX and Norfolk Southern in the late 90s.
Yeah, Lemon
Both
Demon,
of these
of course.
companies were built to hopefully become profitable without the government's help, which in a very neoliberal mindset makes sense. But when it comes to transportation, this is not always true, nor is it a good thing. There are benefits to good transportation beyond making a profit, especially when it comes to the efficiency of travel and energy that trains provide. Amtrak and Conrail were never truly nationalized because they were never supposed to be controlled by the government, unlike European railways that I mentioned in the beginning. If Conrail and Amtrak were nationalized in the first place, many of the lines that were dropped for financial reasons in the early days would have never happened, and there would still be many places with a station or line that don't have one now. And without nationalization, it's dumb to think that a private company would ever run a train to smaller groups of population ever again. Also, private corporations running infrastructure that both the public and the government rely on is such a heinous mistake. Alright, we're gonna talk about tax policy now. Hang in there.
Speaking of New York.
Okay, now stay with me. I know that tax policy can be quite the killer to listen to, so I'll keep it...
So technically, Amtrak and Conrail are not fully nationalized. They're technically quasi-private, owned with full government ownership of a private company. It's weird. But it's technically nationalization. It's the same thing. It's just a weird way to do it. Thank you, Dante. But it's a weird way to do it. It's not exactly the best way to do it, but if that's the way the US wants to do it to be legality reasons, sure. Whatever. Also, nice SD... Is that an SD50? No, that's an SD38, I think. They had a few SD50s. I have a model of a SD50 too.
Brief. I'm not going to go through all the history of taxation in great detail except for modern day. But know that there was a time when the government practically gave land and tax havens away to railroads. Eventually, citizens complained. Next, there was a period of time when railroads had high tax rates on them. And then Conrail showed up because all of those businesses failed. And then finally in the 90s, many of the taxes were drawn back to lower percentages. And that brings us to where we currently are in railroad tax policy.
Trash train.
So now we must go over how taxes on railroads work. Here is an older tax document from the state of New York. Unfortunately, I couldn't find anything newer than...
Actually, so yeah, NJT set up with private, owned by state. So Amtrak, I think in 2021... was finally mandated to drop the profitability aspect. So that's no longer part of Amtrak anymore. They do not need to be profitable anymore, or at least there's no legal or written thing that says they need to be profitable anymore. Where for a while, that's what they were required to be. But now anymore, there's no written thing that says they need to be profitable. Which is great, because they never were.
This on the internet, mainly because I myself am not a taxable railroad, or at least not yet. So you can see here how each of these states used to tax rail and still do. What it comes down to is how much improvement is done to a line.
Oh yeah, of course New Jersey needs to be fucking weird. At 475 track mile compared to just percentages. That's also part of the reason why a lot of places in New Jersey will have single track compared to like part of Pennsylvania or whatever, which is frustrating. But yeah.
Well, except for New Jersey, who taxes it per
grab
mile.
some more water in our drink. Be right back in like 15
I know.
seconds.
We have a weird state. So generally, if a line is 2 tracks, it will get taxed more. Hence why a lot of modern railroads have single-track main lines in the United States. But this is only one side of the problem. The main part of the problem is how inefficient taxation and grants are with railroads. Generally, railroads will pay some sort of tax on their land. This tax will go to both federal and state governments. Money is then eventually redistributed into the railroads through grants and subsidies. These subsidies usually going to Amtrak for passenger operations and grants going back to private operators for infrastructure upgrades and maintenance. This causes the problem of needing extra personnel in between each of these transactions for bookkeeping, causing a loss of money and unnecessary costs. Now, I'm sure you'll probably think, well, let's just stop taxing these companies so that they can use the cash in the first place to directly upgrade their infrastructure.
The ANCAP ball, excuse me. You have no idea how many times I explain to people that transit doesn't need to be profitable. Yeah, I mean, that's like, I try to nail or hammer that into videos when I can. Yeah, it's something that just like, I think the sentiment is slowly changing. I think we're doing a good job with changing people's mind about it. Because I definitely, like, 5 years ago, if you were to mention, like, a public transit agency, like, needing money, people would say it's a handout. It's slowly changing. And I've seen a lot of progress in the right direction, that things are... People's perceptions are changing on it. It's, like... It's good. We're seeing progress. And that's why I said, like, people shouldn't doom about this shit. We're in the best position we've ever been for a lot of this stuff, and that's a good thing.
Well, unfortunately, most private railroads in the US aren't in the business of railroading. As I said earlier, they're in the business of making short-term money. So the majority of the money saved in a for-profit company is directly funneled back into shareholders and upper management's hands, instead of back into upgrading infrastructure and for better service. So what's the solution to this? Well, you can either strengthen the unions to have some power to own the railroad to prevent...
The easiest comeback to the rail or transit has to be profitable is you ask them how profitable or how much money highways make. That's the easiest comeback, or roads. Or how much money does their local road make? That's just like the easiest comeback. Always use that. It's just the easy one. Or sewer system. Say like their sewer system. How much profit does their sewer system make? That's another good one.
Shareholders from poaching cash. Or the other option is what majority of the countries around the world have chosen, and that is to divert to nationalization.
This is a good transition.
Most of these problems could be fixed through nationalization and widespread investment into railroad infrastructure. I propose bringing Conrail back. Conrail would take over freight again and would maintain all mainline railroad infrastructure in the country, along with improvements to lines like electrification.
Toll roads are mostly not profitable. 90% of them do not make a profit. 90% of them either still need to be subsidized by the state or just break even. There's only like maybe 10% is even being generous. There's only a few roads in North America that actually make a profit.
Private companies could still own and operate their freight on the network too.
One of them's
they
that
would
one
lease
in
out
Toronto.
lines and run their services. This is very similar to how European railways do their services, similar to Flixi-Train in Germany. Class 2 and 3 railroads could also still exist privately too, because Conrail would only operate mainline services, so Class 2 and 3 railroads would still need to exist for freight hubs. Nationalization would use Conrail to turn the current US rail network into basically a copy of the interstate system, where the government owns the rails and infrastructure, but any company can use them if they pay the toll. The main benefit with these improvements are...
Yeah, there's a few good people. I can watch some of them to give you an idea. I mean, the one... I'll give you guys a hint. One of the ones I'm working with next... is Diana. I'm working with her on a future video you might see, but she makes some of those wild city skylines videos ever. Like, where's one that has like wild editing? Probably this one. There we go.
You've placed this
Yeah, her videos are fucking wild.
nice flyover interchange, but now you need to expand to the other side of the highway. What do? Let's try a double trumpet. It looks cool, it's easy to build, and you don't need any mods or DLCs to make it. Using dirt roads, push page up 3 times to elevate to 9 meters and make a 7-unit or $925 road over the highway. On one end, make another 6-unit or $800 segment.
She does a lot of city skylines stuff. She also has she has like a yeah, Saltaire, which is also pretty good.
This is the Skyland Mall.
Which she does kind of like, if you ever watched like Do Not Eat's series in the past called Franklin, this is kind of similar to Franklin, except it's a little bit different, a little bit faster.
It used to be.
You can see.
Most of the tenants have long moved out or gone out of business entirely, with Sears being the only holdout. Its parking lots empty and cracked, the landscaping unkempt and overgrown. With the age of e-commerce and general urban decay, unable to compete and stay relevant, shopping malls just like this, all around North America, have slowly begun
also,
to decline.
her editing's just
However,
wild.
amidst this decline, faded malls offer exciting potential for transformation into vibrant, mixed-use developments. If you're new here, my name is Diana, and welcome to Saltaire, a city skyline series inspired by Salt Lake City. Today we're back in
I think Diana's more popular on TikTok and Instagram. I don't think she only has 12K here, but I think on TikTok and Insta she's more popular. And she has the Lane Man series. Yet another Urbanist is good. Rural Urbanist, I think he's called. Paige Saunders, Oh the Urbanity is fantastic generally. City Nerd, of course. I've met him in person. Met Reese in person, RM Transit. I think Reese is fantastic, and he puts out way more content than I could ever do. He's a little bit, he strays more toward the neoliberal side than I do, but his content's still fantastic. Neander's good. Meta-modernism is a friend of mine. Modernism. There he is. Yeah, go subscribe to this channel. This is my friend Matt. Matt makes good videos. He's known as the Dingbat guy. You've probably seen the Dingbat video. Most people have seen the Dingbat video. But trying to think who else. Yeah, I mean, Oh the Urbanity, they're fantastic. Their channel is probably the most consistently like they're probably the most consistent with like how much information they're able to fit in videos. Also just like schedule wise, they're very consistent. They're way better than me. The only thing that they're just bad at is like a lot of their stuff is hit or miss. Like they get a lot of views or no views. Because some of their stuff is kind of boring. Like it's hard. It's hard to make this stuff interesting. It is. It's not very clickbaity to be like, oh, zoning, ooh, like you can't be like, oh, single stairwell dwelling units, ooh. Like, there's only so much you can do. You need a team. I'm aware. Yeah, I need another writer. But the problem is that I write in a specific style that it's hard to get compatibility with someone else. There's also the fact that like it's chicken and an egg. It's the chicken and the egg scenario where it's like I need to make more videos to get more money to be able to pay someone else, but I need someone else to help me to get more money to make more videos to pay them more. So kind of a chicken and the egg type thing. So landlords, landlords and developers are interesting because, like, obviously leftists have a lot of, me being a leftist too, we have a lot of bad sentiment toward them for many obvious reasons. So, like, there are obviously dumb shit that landlords do all the time, but, like, unfortunately, if we're going to improve the material conditions of what we have at the moment, we need to unfortunately work with landlords. And if you are able to make a system where landlords have less power, meaning that, like, there's more housing available, and that more housing leads to more competition, thus leading those landlords to not charge as much, hence what happened in Minneapolis recently, that's pretty much the best you can do unless you have full public housing projects, which that's asking a lot for the United States at least. So as much as I would love full public housing projects Vienna style, we got to kind of work with the systems that we got. And unfortunately, they're not the best, but we gotta figure it out. And that's honestly just building more housing. So yeah, the problem, the thing is don't let the imperfect be the enemy of the good. The main thing is that, like, a lot of leftists will just block housing projects if they're not, like, totally 100% affordable housing projects. And it's like, don't do that. Like, yeah, I agree. Some parts of newer housing should be affordable housing, whatever the fuck that means. But, like, the more housing you have, the more that it's going to be able to allow more people to it'll allow more to soak up the demand of the stuff that's currently there. So yeah, it's one of those things that it's just like, yeah, that's honestly the problem with San Francisco, is that everyone in San Francisco thinks to themselves that blocking housing or these new big housing projects is actually doing good, because they think that all new housing is the bad boogeyman, where actually they are the boogeyman blocking housing. So it's like, it's frustrating. I don't know if that's AI generated, but it was a decent video. I mean, you can see I watched it. Thoughts on HOAs? They're generally dumb. The only type of HOA that is okay is HOAs for big apartment buildings, because you do need to have like, if you have condo units that are sold in an apartment building, you generally have to have the people in the apartment building agreeing on the same shit, because obviously it's not a good thing when you have people with different motivations in the same building. Here, I'll take my landlord is pretty nice. Thoughts on SAS and taking 3 billion years, probably finish after we die. SAS, what is SAS? I'm dumb. I'm dumb. What is SAS? What is some Second Avenue subway? Oh yes, of course. Second Avenue subway, yeah, it's good. A lot of people are complaining online about the stations being overbuilt. I don't really have an issue with that. Like I said, when it comes to building new transit, I'm not really that much of a stickler about the price as some other people. I think that, like, just getting these projects moving and getting more projects in the pipeline is the best thing you can do, because the more you make it like a factory floor where one project is after another and they just keep moving, it's the best thing you can do. Because, like, as you go through these projects, you slowly learn how to make them cheaper and you learn how to make them faster. And, like, yeah, because the knowledge is held over to the next project. Starting, not how you're supposed to do it. And that's why I've been annoyed with California high-speed rail, because yes, they're building a thing that's objectively good, and even if it's slightly more expensive than Euro or other places, it's still objectively good and should be built, but they've done it in a very inefficient manner. So, yeah. Do you go to council meetings? I don't go to Philly council meetings because they're kind of frustrating. But I do go to council meetings or at least meetings that are important to housing or transit, blah, 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 that's specific. And that can not only be just Philly, but also other places outside of Philly that are suburbs. Phase 2 stations got downsized a bit to save money, actually. That's good. It's even then, I think that the thing just needs to be built and completed. You need to get to 125th at least, at minimum. Once you get to 125th, then they can decide if they want to take the line further out or, I guess, westward. But for now, yeah, I'm happy they're building it out or finishing it. Let's go back to the channel. Trying to think if there's like any of the older videos that I want to talk about. Die on the hill that LAR and Metro North needs to fully electrify. Yeah, I mean every service in the US needs to fully electrify. It's just like LIRR and Metro North debatably should go with overhead wire at this point, but honestly, like, I don't care. If it's third rail, that's fine. I will look at Korea's rail system. I don't know too much about it. Metro video. Yeah, we'll watch the Metro video. That's another one that was actually heavily influenced by regular car reviews. Where the fuck is that? Oh, right here. Yeah. Hey, 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 it's 95.7 The Deep Dish. Coming at you live from top of the hour but bottom of the red line. We got the music for you coming from the center of the Midwest. Starting off with some local Chicago music, but in a few minutes we're giving away year-long passes to Metra. Hey, we'll get you right back to the music in a moment, but this is simultaneously the most ridiculous and greatest commuter rail ever made by my countrymen. I see you back there. Stay back there. Nice try, second place. The year is 1984. We just re-elected the Gipper to staggering applause, and also totally unrelated, cocaine started appearing in US cities.
My heart and my best intentions still tell me that's true.
Tetris was released in the Soviet Union, and lastly, the collapse of US railroads was coming to a close. Because in 1984, Metra was created, and that cemented the last commuter rail operation to be taken over by state governments. Metra is Chicago's commuter rail system, with over 480 miles of track and 280,000 daily rides. It's the fourth largest commuter rail system in the United States. But even if Metra's ridership numbers seem okay, the system itself has problems that plague it to its core. And most of these issues are felt across the country in many other systems in the US too. Metra, I want to love you. You have the highest track mileage out of any of the commuter systems in the United States, and you have the most amount of stations. But you could be... Which is wild to me. Which is wild that, like, Metra has the most amount of stations and track miles. I would have thought that would have been LIRR. But, like, Metra is truly impressive. It's just, oh, it could be so much better. It could be so much better. It's such a better system. Metra is also a good case study on US passenger rail systems in general, because many of them suffer from the same issues that Metra exacerbates. Let's start with talking about schedules and frequencies. This video is not going to go into too much depth about scheduling, because Not Just Bikes has covered that when he talked about the GO transit system in Toronto, which shares many of the same problems. That's another thing about Metra, is that they have 4 terminal stations. The Rock Island station probably shouldn't exist, but it's fine, I guess. It's one of those things that, like, yeah, sure, legacy, but also it shouldn't exist. As Metra. First, let's talk about Metra's best lines. The BNSF line to Aurora, and the also the Union Station line should be through running. Like, that just makes your system so much more efficient. Metra Electric District. Both of these lines have schedules that have trains coming every 30 minutes at peak times, and about every hour during off hours. This is about as good as you're going to get when it comes to Metra. And to their credit, this is pretty decent compared to a lot of other American commuter rail services. But this video isn't here to praise Metra. We need to talk about the other lines. Take a look at the North Central service. This is it. You get 6 trains a day into Chicago, and you get 6 that return in the opposite direction. That's it. Those are all of your trains. Want to stay late in the city with friends? No, fuck you. The last train leaves at 6 p.m. What, were you intending to drink with them late at night? Just drive home like a normal American. You want to know the best joke about this whole thing? This isn't even the worst schedule that Metra runs. Union Station is overcrowded if you run it like Metra currently runs it. It's not overcrowded if you ran it like any normal train agency. The thing is that Metra does the thing that you shouldn't do, which is you run the train into Union or whatever station they have, and then it sits there. And it sits there, and it sits there until the next thing on the schedule comes up where it's on that track. And then it leaves. So it'll probably sit there for a few hours and then leave. That's dumb. The thing should come into the station. The conductors and the engineer should walk out of the front of the train to the other end of the train, get in, get ready, open the doors back up, and then go. Get all the passengers and go. So that should take maybe like 15, 20 minutes. But instead, you have the train sitting there for multiple hours. So if you did the 10, 15 minute turnover time, then you would not need, or you would use way less tracks that are currently in Union, and you could run more services into Union. Plus, you could just run more service. So like, yeah. Say hello to Metra's Heritage Corridor. This is probably the worst commuter rail schedule in the United States. It's just so bad. I do have a Long Island Railroad video planned at some point, but I need to go to Long Island and ride some of the services and video some of it to do that video. But I think Long Island Railroad is a good service. I think that they have multiple issues, and unfortunately one of the issues, and this is very specific to Long Island Railroad, is the union is unfortunately part of the problem. The union is most of the 90% of the time good, 10% of the time bad. The union has 5 conductors on each train, and that's like a lot. That's like a thing that the union pushes, and like having less conductors, they fought against every single time. No, don't worry about it, but thank you for offering, Dante. I will get up there eventually. Yeah, it's LIR has some rules about the amount of staff that needs to be on a train, and unfortunately that digs into the cost and the inability to run more trains because of the amount of staff that they need. So as much as I like the unions, once in a while, very rarely, do they have some L's that they force people to take, and that's probably one of the L's. NJT does not have similar rules. Bad. Like, people wonder why no one takes the train once, like, stations are built. It's only LIRR. It's not even Metro North. It's just LIRR. This is why. Why would I bother risk missing a train and then having to wait 2 hours for the next one, or possibly just none coming at all? This is a huge problem with Metra, but this is also a problem with many commuter railroads in the United States. Having shitty schedules not only affects ridership of your transit system, but it also affects the public's perception of transit in general. If one system near me is bad, why would I use another system in a nearby city? Surely it's just as terrible as the one I remember. I'll just drive my car instead, because that's what's familiar to me. Anyway, let's get on, and we'll go to the funniest and... Yeah, the Atlantic City line is frustrating, because it should have more service, but at the same time, it doesn't give that much ridership. But apparently the trains have been pretty packed on the Atlantic City line recently, so I don't know. Dumbest aspect of Metra.
Holy Jesus. What is that? What the fuck is that?
Alright, so let's first talk about these weird things. These are gallery cars, and they form the backbone of Metra's fleet. They are double-decker passenger coaches, but they have a weird twist. They are double-decker, but the second floor has a drop-through to the first floor. Now, why in the hell would you ever design a train car like this? Not only does it make it harder to get to the second floor, but it also limits. Thoughts on Metrolink? Metrolink is sometimes more of an inner-city system than it is commuter. Yeah, it's Metrolink is mainly like Metro doesn't have this excuse as much, but Metrolink is mainly challenged by LA's inability to have TOD or just density at all. Chicago has many suburbs that have density around stations, so this is less a Chicago problem than it is a Metrolink problem not having density. It's the space on the second floor to single seats. Now, again, why would you ever design cars this way? Well, this is the US of A, baby. And in the 60s and 70s, many decisions were made by railroads to skirt around labor issues, including gallery cars. The idea is that the conductor doesn't have to go to the second floor to collect tickets. They can simply reach up and take the tickets from the people above. Thus, the train needs less conductors to collect tickets because it can be done faster with fewer people. In practice, this is not. There are certain lines that Metrolink does not own their tracks on. There are some that are owned by BNSF and UP, but there are some that, yeah, they own completely all of the tracks. So, Metrolink is a entirely separate video. I don't think that Metrolink is the worst in North America, though. The worst commuter rail in North America goes to EXO. Not always the case, yet Metra has always ordered more of the same kind of gallery cars for years now. Finally, Metra is... I also don't count stuff like Sunrail and the Music City Star and Rail Runner because they're so tiny of systems that they don't really count as a complete system. But I think that EXO is the worst system per size of systems. Ordering new passenger coaches from Alstom. These cars have a normal 2-level design and a low-floor entrance, so it's... Yeah, no, I say EXO because a city like Montreal should not have that shit of a system. I will be going to LA probably this late fall or winter. I am doing a West Coast thing this winter, and I will have a meetup somewhere then now. It's gonna improve, just slowly. But that is not to say the same about their locomotives. Metra really likes EMDs, or electromotive division. They will not buy any other type of locomotive because they only like working. Number one in LRT ridership for a whole system, but not per mile. Per mile, that would be SEPTA. On EMD prime movers, aka the engines. This can be seen. SEPTA's a little cheating though, because our light rail system is trolleys above ground and then they go below ground into a subway, so debatable. And their overabundance of F40 PHs and F59 PHIs. But there's a big problem here. EMD stopped existing. So Seattle has a good system, but per mile it's still SEPTA, I think, because SEPTA has not as many miles as Seattle, but it's a very dense system. Existing in the mid-2000s. So Metra and their locomotives are aging, and too quickly. Since Metra will refuse to buy Amtrak's retiring GE Genesises, because they're... Also, when I do visit LA, sometime in the winter probably, I will be taking the Pacific Surfliner from LA to San Diego. So there will be 2 meetups around that time. Not EMDs. So they have some options, and they're kinda dumb. The most recent thing on the table has been to convert some older freight locomotives, some SD70 Max. The SD70 Max, Metra, SD70 Mac, they exist now. They're a real thing now. They're goofy, incredibly goofy. Incredibly goofy that these exist. So fucking goofy. Yeah. Whoop. No. Go back. Go away. Yeah, look at these things. Goofy as shit. They look okay. Like I think SD70s look good. Like I don't have a problem with SD70s. Actually, wait. Let me hold on. I think I like SD70s. I think they look fine. It's just that like as Metra, this looks goofy. Like hold on, let me grab one. All right. So we got to talk about SD70s. So this wasn't running in the Farmer video, but the virtual railcam. But we have this guy, pretty cool. So little Conrail quality. But yeah, I think SD70s are fine. I think they're actually pretty good. I mean, they're still some of the best locomotives in North America. I just think that obviously they shouldn't be used for passenger service. Yeah. I'm going to do more model train stuff in the future. There's going to be more of those club streams. We're going to probably try to get a stream where we have a GoPro strapped to the front of a train and we're streaming the GoPro. I think that would be fun. But that's on the to-do list. Excuse me. Got the hiccups a little bit. Oh my god. Let's see, is there any like stuff? Oh, the hiccups are annoying. So in the last... Actually, here's a cab ride of the layout. Oh my god, these hiccups. Let's hope they go away. I can do the Syracuse video. Well, I have a Syracuse video already, but it's more of a making fun of Syracuse. Yes, the BART ride was fantastic. Someone was complaining on Twitter about like, actually, you shouldn't do that. And I was like, no, it's a fantastic fucking video. I need to do it with SEPTA eventually. Yeah, no, this is the model club that I go to. It's pretty much Place, Pennsylvania. Oh. What if someone did a GE C40? That is the most Fulmer opinion. I gotta stop you. This Fulmer derogatory opinion right there. Yeah, I think it was Classy Whale, which he has an okay channel. I like some of his stuff. But yeah, just on Twitter, actually, you shouldn't do that. No, who cares? Not hurting anyone. Yeah, no, it's a good project. I might slap a GoPro. I have some good GoPros. Slap a GoPro to the front of some SEPTA stuff eventually. Glad you pointed out Union Station. They're spending billions to reroute the Southwest line to the Rock Island Terminal. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy that they're also spending money on the Amtrak thing. They're going to run Amtrak on the South Shore line. That's an objectively good thing that they should have done a long time ago. I rode the Capital Limited recently, and it was like we parallel the South Shore line all the way to South Bend, and then it cuts off. And it's like I have no idea why Amtrak doesn't use the South Shore line and then get off of it at South Bend. That would eliminate so many freight bottlenecks or freight train bottlenecks. Retired railfan horn guy. Yeah, he's great. I like him a lot. He has the most Long Island accent I've ever heard in my fucking life. Uh, the most funny guy. There's a clip of him that he's like making fun of like Silverliner Fives or something. He's like, "You're bad, you're dumb," and I want to add like the Vine boom in between like everything he's saying. It's so funny. Reason why Amtrak doesn't use South Shore Line is because it's not double tracked. Yeah, they're trying to fix that. If I was in charge of NJ Transit, how would I fix it? Oh boy, I would push for capital projects even if I didn't have the money, because if you have the political influence, you can just do things. If you make enough noise, you can just do things. That's what I don't think a lot of people understand. If you make enough noise and enough problems for people, you can just get things funded. Just be someone else's problem, and you will get things funded. Oh, okay. So he hates the Silverliner 4s, loves the 5s. Okay. But yeah, no. NJT needs to do the Hunter flyover, which is the Raritan Valley line flyover on the Northeast Corridor. They need to do that. They need to electrify the Raritan Valley line, and they need to electrify the main line, the Bergen main line, or the Old Erie main line. Also, let's see, how bad is that? Oh, it's not too bad. My one light shut off. Then NJT needs to focus on South Jersey more. That would be my next thing to do after I do those two projects. Let me grab battery for this light because it ran out. Ugh. What could NJT do to improve the Atlantic City line? They could do two things. They could double track the majority of it, and then they could fix the section between the Northeast Corridor and Cherry Hill. The slowest section of the NJT Atlantic City line is between the Northeast Corridor and Cherry Hill. Unfortunately, that would also require replacing probably the Delaware Bridge at some point, because the Delaware Bridge is a piece of shit. Now, it's an old piece of shit, so granted, like, it's from the I think it's 1898 it was built, so, like, hey, it did its job, but it's time to replace it. Yeah, also extend the Hudson-Bergen light rail actually into Bergen County. Go north. It's a decent line. They need to extend it. They also need to extend it into Newark. Actually, I could show that. So, like, come on. I don't think Google Maps is going to show me transit. Yeah, so it's not going to show me... Oh, it does show the Hudson-Bergen light rail. Okay, so there's this section here that ends at... What is this? Excuse me. West Side Avenue. When you can see clearly there's a right-of-way that goes this way, and that used to go over a bridge here, and it used to go all the way into Newark. So if they were to extend the Hudson-Bergen light rail, you could go in a straight line all the way over into Newark, and connect it with the Newark light rail system, and that would honestly be one of the best things you could do. They even still have the right-of-way under the highway here that they could use. So yeah, I don't have a problem. They need to do that eventually. The other thing that I would wish to do is I used to live in New Brunswick. They need to do something in New Brunswick, either a BRT system or some light rail system. I would love a light rail system to go from like Perth Amboy or South Amboy through New Brunswick and then to Bound Brook area, because that would connect to 3 huge communities. So why isn't transit signal preemptive more common with light rail? The most frustrating thing in the world is when you're a train, you have to stop a red light. It's all just priorities of the transit system. Because like certain light and it's all priorities, and it does take a little bit of money to integrate lights into the transit system. Trolley loop at Penn Station, which is the trolley loop is kind of funny, the Newark one, but like it needs to go. You have double-ended trains. You don't need to do that. Congestion pricing thoughts. I think it's fine. I think New Jersey is being a little bitch about it, or specifically New Jersey government. 90% of people that commute into New York City from New Jersey use transit already. There's only the 10% that are insane and use cars. So they should not do that. Excuse me. So like, yeah. So Path is such a fucking weird system. Path probably deserves its own video. There's so many problems with it. I like Path, but my god. Port Authority said it would hurt them in Path. Yeah, so that's the thing, is that like, what the idiots in office should be doing is, instead of trying to block the congestion charging, they should be trying to advocate for more money for NJ Transit and Path instead of just blocking it. Because just like argue that like, hey, our transit systems are part of this too. The congestion pricing should also give NJT and Path more money. Why is Hoboken a deviation? Hoboken was the original terminus for all of the Bergen Mainline, Passaic Valley trains. Thoughts on park and rides? They're fine. Certain ones are worse than others. It depends. It depends on the context. Because like someplace like Hamilton, like this isn't too bad because it's like it's off of a highway. It's a highway exit. But like a park and ride that's like in an urban place, that's when it's bad. Park and ride should not exist in urban places. Like I'm trying to think of one that's bad. Probably like, so if we go to Patco, like Ferry Avenue is not the best because you're on the edge of Camden. You should not have a park and ride in the middle of a denser area. Same with some of the other stops like Collingswood. Collingswood should not have these parking lots here. These should be dense housing like this side. These row homes, one side of the station. Perfect. No questions. Perfect density. Right next to the train station. But then the parking lots, no, dumb. Incredibly dumb. Moving to New Brunswick for urban planning grad school, is the NJT bus system worth bothering with over there? It depends. Most of the stuff in New Brunswick, because I live there, most of the stuff you'll need in New Brunswick, you can either access via the train or via the Rutgers bus system. The Rutgers bus system, as much shit as it gets, it's okay. But honestly, if you have a bike, or if you can get a bike, a cheap bike, you can get most things in New Brunswick within reach. It's a good city. I used to live, so I don't live here anymore, but I still have it marked. I lived in this house. I lived in this big Victorian. It's kind of like the Up House because it's between 2 apartment buildings and then across the street from another apartment building. But I used to live in this big Victorian over here. It's a good house. I lived there with 8 people. Luckily, I had 4 bathrooms. So very much a college house. But New Brunswick's cool. It's definitely a city that is a little frustrating because could be better. But it also could be a lot worse. It has some nice bike lanes like here. You have your Rutgers bus system where it gets a little overcrowded sometimes. But you do have nice density with not many parking garages or parking systems. Yeah, I mean, it's your typical college campus style stuff. But it does have transit, does have bus lanes, bike lanes. It needs more of them. Needs more of them throughout the city. George Street over here, very cool street. Some for the most part of 2020 and 2021, and yeah, it's been closed. This is from 2021. I don't think it's closed anymore. I think that unfortunately they took it up. But yeah, for a while, sometimes they closed down George Street. Very good places to eat and drink at in downtown New Brunswick. That's the one thing, at least New Brunswick with Rutgers, is that there's a good nightlife, decent nightlife here. New Brunswick gets a lot of shit, but it's definitely better than a lot of other places. I honestly miss living in New Brunswick sometimes because it was such like a small park or not a park. I had this Bushleck Park in my head. It's such a small city that honestly I miss being able to go across the city in like 25 minutes on a bike, where I can't do that here in Philly. Philly's way bigger. But New Brunswick's cool. The train station, I have so many fond memories at the train station here. Definitely one of the best I mean, honestly, in the Northeast Corridor. Some farmer uploaded a lot of shots. But yeah, I have many fond memories of this place. Very cool city. Or tiny city. Whoa, why did that snap back? Google Maps being weird. I would kill for a downtown tunnel. Yeah, well, this is all, hold up. Here's your train station. Yeah, so there's like, it's an old viaduct, old stone viaduct that is where the trains go through the city. Or does the Philly make it look like the head of a knight? Yeah, kind of. But yeah, I don't mind New Brunswick. I think it's very underrated, and I think it gets more shit than it deserves. But I also I'm frustrated with some of the progress on certain things. I think 18 was also a blight on the city. It would have been so much nicer if that was still the Delaware and Raritan Canal. Yeah, if you ever, so one of the best things in New Jersey is from New Brunswick here, all the way to Trenton here, and then all the way up to, where is it? All the way up to like Milford, I think, is like a singular trail you can bike that's almost entirely uninterrupted. It's a canal. I did the video on it, which is the Delaware and Raritan Canal here. This canal towpath you can literally ride from like 30-40 miles continuously, which is awesome. Like here, I guess someone mapped it out. Yeah, it's like a very compacted trail. It looks awesome. During COVID, I was very much saved by this trail because it's still closed. What are you talking about? Oh yeah, well I know they had some flooding in certain parts of the canal pathway, but I don't think it was totally closed. But yeah, during COVID, when I was kind of stuck everywhere, the Delaware and Raritan Canal was kind of my savior because I actually had somewhere to bike, somewhere to kind of get my mind off of everything while I was like stuck in quarantine. You can still see some of the old locks that are part of the DNR canal too. Yeah, very, very great trail. I just wish there was some way to get transit. Well, there is a bus, I think, but the buses are inconsistent from downtown New Brunswick and back. Highland Park, also very good. Highland Park, even though it's single family homes, it's very dense, single family homes. I have so many friends that lived over there in Highland Park, and they would either ride a bike over or take the bus over. And then Rutgers in general is very weird. Also, Piscataway and Plainfield kind of fall apart in their suburban sprawl. They're not as good. A lot of the New Jersey stuff outside of the classical downtowns kind of falls apart, especially along these highways. So yeah, the RVL, or the Central Railroad in New Jersey, main line, all very good. What I guess technically is the Lehigh Valley. I guess it breaks off it here. Yeah, no, I have a lot of fond memories of this place. Obviously, Rutgers in general. Very big school, especially with the 4 campuses that you can go. Oh, George Street Co-op, very cool place too. Yeah, no, I need to do a video at some point back in New Brunswick. Because a lot of the streets, like, even though they're single family homes, they're very dense. Single family homes, they'll be like this. So like, it's kind of like a lot of Rust Belt cities where it's like, yeah, it's single family homes, but they're pretty densely packed together. So they're not as bad. Tired about how, but yeah, I'm going to finish up the stream soon because I'm getting pretty tired too. Yeah, if you're in New Brunswick, places I would recommend: Hidden Grounds, fantastic coffee shop. Fritz's, fantastic cafe. Noodle Gourmet, one of my favorite, I guess, Hong Kong style noodle dish places. I went there all the time. Fantastic. Mamoon's, very good also. Mediterranean. So many good places. And Stuff Your Face. Many vodka fish bowls have been consumed there. Yeah, so the nightlife and restaurants in New Brunswick definitely not lacking at all. Do you think the Westchester line should be fully restored? It depends what you mean by that. I think it probably should at some point. When's the next video coming out? Next video will be out probably Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, depending on how fast I'm able to finish this. The street in New Brunswick is still closed. They extended it until the fall, I think. That's good. I hope they just can keep it pedestrianized. That would be awesome. Yeah. Oh, gosh. Tired, very tired. But yeah, I was meaning to do 2 streams this week. Usually what I was trying to do is I was trying to do like 1 stream on like Wednesday and then 1 stream on the weekend. Usually the stream on Wednesday was going to be more serious, and then the stream on the weekend was going to be more like do whatever. Like last weekend I did the virtual foamer cam, or I did like a model train cam at my club, which is kind of fun. But yeah. Oh, I thought you meant Westchester, New York. No, yeah, Westchester, Philly SEPTA line should definitely be extended and finished. There's no reason it shouldn't. But what was it? Yeah, no, and then video should be out sometime next week. Either, I'm guessing like Tuesday or Wednesday is more realistic. Monday would be extremely optimistic. We'll see. So yeah. Yeah, and it's going to be the video, to give you kind of a sneak peek on the idea. It's going to be about American metros, or North American metro systems, and it's going to be about a major fatal flaw that a lot of them do with their stations, or lines in general, I guess I should say. Some people have covered the topic before, but this is going to kind of be a all-encompassing version of it. to talk about. So it will be a fun one. And like I said, there's going to be one other YouTuber that's going to be involved in this video also. But look forward to that on Monday or Tuesday. It should be. Anything over 6 stories is built when NB tiers level. Yeah. Let's see. What's your personal favorite light rail vehicle in America? Mine's personally the ones used for DART. Yeah, the DART ones are pretty good, especially because they have like the traction motors that have like the VVVT drives, which sound really good. But favorite light rail vehicles would probably be one of SEPTA's, probably the K car, maybe like the 101, 102 K cars. Those are good. Otherwise, I don't know. I like Boston's Green Line, the old rolling stock. The old rolling stock is very cool. It's going to be sad when that disappears. Yes, follow Big Mood Energy. Big Mood Energy is a good channel. She unfortunately doesn't upload a lot anymore, but she has a decent Twitter following still. But she used to make really, really, really good videos about using city skylines and talking about transit systems and trains and blah, 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 blah. She's very good. Oh, wait, you can't see what I'm looking at. Yeah, follow Big Mood Energy here. She's very good. Cannot wait for City Skylines 2. Yeah, I'm going to be playing a lot of it also. Yeah, the River Line's good, but I also don't consider the River Line light rail. It's not really light rail. It's just called light rail. It's really heavy rail, but it's kind of an interurban DMU. Yeah, it's weird. Biased but quite let's see. Anything from the St. Louis Car Company is still great rolling stock. Yeah, I mean, there should be a whole video about the St. Louis Car Company and Bud about losing rolling stock manufacturers, because I don't think enough people talk about that. Yeah, the River Line and the Glassboro-Camden line will probably get flirts at some point, or modified flirts at some point when the Glassboro-Camden line starts running. Yeah, the Hudson Bergen Light Rail should be doing 10 minutes at max, or 15 minutes maybe at max. But yeah. Back to... SEPTA should bring back the Newtown Square line. Oh, that's a whole nother thing, because Newtown Square is kind of gone now. Like, you could theoretically bring back the trolley, because the Newtown Square Pike still has this, like, oh wait, you can't see what I'm looking at. Newtown Square Pike from 69th Street still has like a median, and you could theoretically run it in the median. So you could theoretically run a trolley line from 69th to Newtown Square, but like you couldn't run regional rail there. The right of way is gone. But Newtown is yeah, the other one, which is up here. Newtown is up here, and the tracks still exist in some spots. If you go on to Street View, you can still see there's still tracks there. It just needs to be all fixed. I think the part of the station sign is still there. Could be wrong. I think there's a sign still up for it, or at least I thought there was. Yeah. It's still here. Yep, still there. Newtown Square. Or Newtown. Yeah, tracks are still there too, kind of embedded. Frustrating. Yeah, and the right-of-way is still there. A lot of the bridges are still there. Granted, like, if they redid this, they need to redo a lot of the line, obviously, and part of the line is rail trailed, so you'd also get some NIMBYs. Unfortunately, I think they would be able to run the train next to the rail trail and keep the rail trail. Hello Kitty Shinkansen. Yeah, I've seen that one. That's a pretty good one. I like the Evangelion Shinkansen. Should SEPTA do about all the abandoned trolley lines? I mean, they should probably replace some of them. I don't think they should replace all of them. This is funny. I always like when you click on the SEPTA Pacer jump scare. I always like when you click on these like railfan Google Maps ass shit. Like obviously someone made this just to post the pictures, which I always think is funny. What do you think about extending the Warminster to New Hope? Yeah, I think New Hope should probably happen eventually. I don't think it should be. I don't think it should be the one of the first things that should be prioritized, but I definitely think it should happen at some point. Oh, there's your pacer again. Oh, here's it again. How to scare an American. Electrified mainline. Crazy. Crazy nonsense right there. And now it's this. It went from that to this. What do you think about extending the Northeast Corridor to London, like London, UK? I mean, that's the crank idea, is to do the undersea tunnel under the Atlantic. Just found the other day, abandoned electric track bridge in Harrisburg does see some use. There's some Amtrak train on it. Yeah, so they use it for turning around. They'll use it for reversing and turning around. They don't use... I think I know what you're talking about. I think you're talking about this bridge. Or no. Where is it? This one. They use part of this bridge to turn around. There's still some track on it. And still some of it is electrified. You can still see some of that if you go like up here. Yeah, if you look, this line right here is still electrified, and they use it because there's a Y there. Yeah, this Y is still electrified, and that's how they turn around some of the electric locomotives and some of the diesel locomotives. Yeah, otherwise, this bridge, you could technically run a service. I would run a service from here to York. Like York is something that is a place that would need service eventually, that I would want to see get service. Same with like Carlisle and Gettysburg, and Hanover. These places should get regional rail service to Harrisburg at some point. Yeah, like I mean, if you went to York, you could just run something all the way from York to Baltimore. But also they should do the Harrisburg, what's it called? What is that line called? From the end of the Susquehanna here at Perryville all the way to Harrisburg, used to be electrified and run service before. It used to run a service from Washington, D.C. to Harrisburg. Port Road, that's it. Yes. Yeah, 3 Mile Island actually had a rail connection too, which I think is very funny. Yeah, if you go here, you can see catenary where there used to be fucking wires. And also you can see the fact that there's a 3 Mile Island branch line that goes off over the bridge, which I think is very funny. But yeah, this used to be all electrified, and it's one of those places where you can just see catenary and you're like, damn, that used to be a thing. Not anymore. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's getting late, and I am very thankful for y'all to be here tonight. But I do have to get to sleep so I can do some work tomorrow, because I do need to work on the video so it can actually come out on time. Otherwise, yeah, I would love to stay up later and do something, look at stuff, and play a game or something. But yeah, I will be saying good night, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the stream tonight. Hopefully you guys enjoyed going over some of the older videos. I'll probably do some more some other night, but I think for now that's probably good enough. But yeah, y'all have a good night. Sleep well wherever in the world, or if you're a European and you're waking up at the moment, why are you awake? You probably need another hour of sleep or so. Otherwise, we will see you sometime later in the week, or whenever the video comes out, which should be earlier in the week, hopefully. See you guys, and have a good night.